good defensive setup here.
Yeah, it looks really solid, especially with all of the Killjoy utility going to be the alarm system for that startup pop, and the nanostorms could also be a part of this. Aldrone is on the way in. Cloudburst will allow BABYBAY in, but there's the split up. BABYBAY actually takes a lot of chewing damage as well. Paranoia not really going to be able to land, and Dicey actually just kept walking through the nanostorm. I thought for sure he was going to stay out of it, but not the case at all. So now all of a sudden the defense really starts to wreak havoc, although Poise does bounce back just a touch, getting us to a 1v1 with ShahZaM. After all the trades at Heaven do eventually come through, Spike will be collected. As ShahZaM continues to play over towards the left side at Tree, he will be suppressed, but Poise may not know that this is a flank. He may think he's in front of him, and that seems to be the case. There's the cross on the corner. ShahZaM finds the free kill, and G2 take the pistol.
Yeah, that's a tough knife because not only it's detecting Heaven, it's also detecting tree position. So like you said, he didn't really know whether it was coming from in front or behind, and ShahZaM able to pick the right position and able to get the clutch. That was a very rapid kill feed that was pinstripe the entire time. So a very chaotic first round with FaZe just going for the A burst. Again, we know that they're known for their very explosive play style. We're going to see a lot of those fast-paced attacks all series, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But G2 able to hold on just well enough. One player ahead to get that one across the finish line. As for G2, I'm definitely keeping my eyes on Oxy because he's been such a star throughout the split, but really struggled in their last match in the mid-season face-off. So I want to see if he can get back to form. And the other one for me is Penny. I feel like he's had a bit of identity crisis on this team throughout the split, and want to see if he can pull something up because we know that he's got a good skill ceiling.
Those are good players to point to, as G2's defense will trust an alarm bot, plus also Oxy at mid. And he will take down the second contestant. dapr deals with the first, and FaZe will once again be kind of pushed away from this initial attempt. dapr on the corner, just looking for a little bit of spam possibly, but it's ShahZaM who collects the kills until dapr's nanostorm will get his second elimination on the day today, as G2 will get themselves a Sheets Flawless, and they take the anti-eco without any stress.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to that when we're talking about G2, I mean, dapr has looked so good this year now that he's back at home playing more traditional Sentinel roles. It's kind of played back into his comfort zone that he was oh so well known for back in the early Sentinel days when they were on top of NA. And wippie has been a fine controller for this team. Definitely got to shout him out. He's definitely been a good, foundation for this team as well. On the other side, for me, it's dicey on Sentinels. It's been a struggle all split long. And that's something else that we have to kind of keep eye on. It's like him versus Penny, like who can actually adjust better to their roles, I think is going to be a big talking point throughout this series.
Well, Bach at one point had insinuated that FaZe very well may not play as fast as you would normally come to expect based on years previous. And after the first two rounds, you may have thought that that was not going to be true, but here in the full buy, definitely taking their time with a lot of focus once again towards mid. It's really just, again, defensively just been the alarm bot that's still here to kind of contest it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, while they're not necessarily attacking a site very quickly, they didn't waste any time getting mid control. So they're still moving at a pretty up-tempo pace. It's just not that final explosion onto a site. They're kind of waiting more to the mid to late round for that point of it. And I think what it is that FaZe still has the same strength as far as their weapon of choice, which is the assertive playstyle. It's just been sharpened over time by Poise's in-game leadership and coaching. Wow. But Oxy playing a forward angle, able to catch Dicey there, shuts down half of this attack.
Yeah, and then dapr is, oh goodness, just staying concealed in the corner for what felt like way too long. Nearly got 2 eliminations from that position. Oxy dashes away and finds himself now stuck at back archway, or is this one of those situations that he's not stuck with you, you're stuck with him? Pistol now out as he gets a second kill. The flash allows him to dash forward. Oh my God, Oxy, what have you just done?
Oh boy, so remember how we were talking earlier, like, hey man, what order Oxy shows up today? The one that we've seen all split long, or the one that we saw struggle against Oxygen last week? Well, I think we got a little bit of our answer there, as Oxy, again, #1 this year in ADR and challengers, #2 in ACS and kills per round. And he has shown you what he is capable of full-fledged here. He is that one of those amongst that next generation of duelists in the Americas, next to Pony and Sim, who have been so dominant in challengers. And that was a big-time round.
That's unbelievable. Individual skill, not a question, not at all. Quick action over towards A long, though, in the round, as FaZe will go back to what is essentially a null purchase. A couple of sheriffs and a stinger. Knives now earned for BABYBAY will be pulled out immediately upon earning them. And Oxy getting blocked off through mid will also back off just a touch, as ShahZaM will very likely relieve him of this position.
Yeah, looking like it's setting up for the A split, but still trying to keep some presence over at B with the utility of Dicey. Very quickly, they've gotten into wine. They're now scoping out middle with the owl drone, so getting some information there. They put a deep smoke there as well to really keep the defense guessing. They now have to spend their own owl drone to make sure that mid's not being taken right now. All the while, FaZe are lining up at tree and looking to start splitting this A site.
Oxy just blindly shooting through the smoke, not going to connect. That will be tree earned. BABYBAY trying to work their way in. Nobody checks the corners, and oh my goodness. Oh, okay. So this is the G2 that decided they wanted to show up here. And oh man, now Dicey's left by himself. 1v3. He's just gonna do a little bit of orb collecting here.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the stone left unturned, isn't it? And again, we know that Penny's got the aim. He's got the mechanics. It's just been that his role's been very weird on this team throughout the split. I mean, this guy used to be a primary duelist player. He kind of, you know, concedes that to Oxy on this team. He sometimes plays the role of a double duelist, but we've seen him play Sage, KO. He tried Sky on Lotus last week. He's tried Breach on Haven in the past. Like, it just seems like he has been trying to find a place where he fits in on this team, where you can still also have the individual impact that he was oh so well known for in his version 1 days. But that's just a small glimpse of what Penny is capable of. We know it's there. It's just about being able to do it consistently. Because if he can figure it out, this team's so deadly because of Oxy and how strong he is, because of how strong wippie has been as a controller, because of, you know, dapr being able to get back to form and kind of having a resurgence, you know, with the traditional Sentinel role coming back into the meta. That's when G2 gets scary with how skilled they can be from top to bottom. And that was just, I mean, some flair right there from Penny, dude. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I'll say.
Especially that fourth kill, that last flick at the generator player. Ooh.
It just never stopped, did it? Every kill felt like a special one and just kept getting better and better the longer the play went on. Okay, so now early considerations need to come through here for FaZe, as you can already feel this thing's starting to get maybe a little bit out of hand just from the mental side of things. Blades ready for Oxy with the operator, everyone else on rifles. A couple also ults are ready or near for players like Penny and dapr. On the other side, Dicey and Rossy poised, all pretty close as well.
A recon dart shut down immediately. Oxy gets to maintain the aggressive stance, but the smoke will now push him back. So FaZe starting to establish that first level of mid control, I guess you could say, though they haven't really threatened market or tree position just yet. But certainly that is coming next. Meanwhile, G2 being proactive on A lobby.
Yeah. That little flash check will see nobody home. That may lead to G2 trying to stack their defense in other areas. And this defensive owl drone, if it can catch intel, boy, it could be valuable, but no, not to happen. Phases at this point, G2's kept saying, where the heck are they? Because we haven't seen anyone in the last 45 seconds.
At the very least, they know that they didn't take mid off the back of their own owl drone, that they still haven't quite hit that yet, and the alarm bot's still there for detection, so that gives them a little bit of leeway. They still have the Killjoy utility set up at B. They're playing together at tree position defensively, so they can play retake if they need to. As now that mid pressure comes in, that market door gets broken, and now FaZe make their intentions known, flashing and dashing in, as they're also well known for.
Dude, these nanos. More chip damage onto Supa and BABYBAY this time. Most of it going towards the armor, not necessarily the health pool. And then the fragment on top of it. That's the spike down. Knives are now out as ShahZaM is dealing with pressure towards the backside, but it is Supa who's able to tally up too. At this point, you stay away from Oxy at all costs, as he just dives in. Eludes Rossy, gets a kill now. It's just down to Rossy, and the right click will deal with him. Goodness, how elusive is Oxy?
Oh boy. And they're able to get the res onto Penny to keep that economy flowing as well, so they survive with 3 members when it's all said and done. They're up 5-0 right now. Shift, they are not messing around. We have a total of 9 kills for FaZe through 5 rounds played. Oxy has that covered by himself. Yeah. Everything else is just icing on the cake for G2 having such a dominant start. They read that oh so well. They backed off on the site. They played the Killjoy utility and just brought FaZe to a screeching halt. And now FaZe on a low buy, looking to try to knock on the door of B very early, it seems.
At a certain point, you have to start thinking that frustration very well may set in early here. A little bit of spam coming out. ShahZaM transfers over, takes down BABYBAY off the dash. Even Dicey, while dapr was completely flashed, can't find too much.
One enemy remaining.
And yeah, it feels like G2 have shrugged off whatever happened last week as they again stomp through another round.
Yeah, dude, they are looking mighty efficient right now. They don't even look like they're ever in danger of losing a round. I mean, they've survived with 3 or more members pretty much every single time. I mean, obviously, this is a bit of an eco round for FaZe in a way, so they weren't coming at it full strength, but still, they just aren't showing those scary signs that they can normally do with their aggressive play style. They have been, again, just halted on all fronts. Poised, not having the type of game that he's used to. Neither is BABYBAY, known for his first kills per round. They're just not finding any openings.
Yeah.
They're getting some initial space, but they're not really taking it to that next level.
BABYBAY tagged down to 54 HP. G2 continue just to not miss at all. But FaZe's establishment of pressure through mid will force a bit of a rotation here on Oxy. He's actually going to hard commit to moving in towards A, maybe just to try to respond to this Aldrin that's on the way in. Won't actually clear anything inside the site, though, so really G2's defense is not threatened yet.
This is a really cool Killjoy setup. It has it split between the 2 sites where it can have early impact with the alarm bot and turret initially at A, but when he rotates, he can still pop those nanos to slow down a B attack. So this is actually pretty interesting stuff that G2 has set up to have this rotating Killjoy. Meantime, we do have FaZe, you know, once again, a little bit of mid control being established as we see Poise step forward just a touch towards market. Looks like they're still holding an angle on Catwalk, but Oxy's waiting with open arms and an operator saying, come on by. I got your welcome wagon for you.
Yeah, Dicey in this position very well may lead to this commitment. Oh, the smoke comes down at perfect time, though, so now Oxy's in a little bit of trouble trying to back away, but he's been revealed, and the Hunter's Fury will assist BABYBAY in finding the kill. The defensive lockdown, though, rather, from the Killjoy will actually force FaZe back a step further. And now with 18 seconds on the clock, FaZe have to break through flawlessly, and it may have to be an offensive lockdown just to give him a chance. From the shadows being popped, that will get him in towards the site. 10 seconds on the clock, and with the kills, there will be a chance to plant.
Indeed they will. Hunter's Fury, though, going to come through, gets the tag on the planter, and finds the frag. But they are still a man behind. So it's still going to be a tough retake here in the 2 versus 3.
Shock darts out. Penny in towards mid. Huge contact here. And yeah, Poise just drags down just a touch with the headshot. ShahZaM now left in the 1v3. Plenty of economy, so no reason not to go for it. Gets information onto 1. I think he thinks hell is open because of that last Hunter's Fury charge that actually missed Dicey. So kind of catches him a bit unawares, and FaZe Clan get on the board. And not bad considering they had to survive through a lockdown and a lot of defense there today.
Yeah, really good just take on Tree, honestly. They just shut down Oxy, didn't allow him to have anything, ran him down with the Hunter's Fury. Finally, BABYBAY getting those first kills that he's so well known for as that just super aggressive duelist. And they hold off any hopes of a retake, as now we have both sides with an operator in their hands. Now FaZe to see if they can use that to string some together, because they're still well behind. A little bit of aggressive Asher set up here at A lobby defensively to try to slow this down.
Yeah. All it is a show of force at the moment. They're still looking for anyone aggressively over-peeking towards B main, of which there shouldn't be any contact, because dapr has a safety blanket of all the utility in the world.
Indeed he does. Indeed he does. They also have this Astra Star ready to make a play as soon as someone tries to touch the orb. And they're going to be able to play like maybe a little bait and switch setup with Wippie here playing in back wine corner. I mean, right now, FaZe are just playing super back. BABYBAY's just watching for aggression with an operator at B. ShahZaM now will use his Aldrin. He spots nothing at middle. So FaZe are doing a pretty good job of hiding their intentions right now. But again, this setup that G2 has at A is still a deadly one.
Nebula pops. That's just to pull back the star. The knife will not catch Wippie by the look of it. Attacking lockdowns now in play, as the fragment will be just a touch early for this. So G2 will have to peel off the site, but Wippie, timing-wise, oh my goodness, nearly caught too, as Rossy was stuck in his Aldrin for a little bit longer than anticipated, but Oxy's actually allowed to still stay on top towards heaven. This is the first shot. Penny in the opposite corner does get isolated, so FaZe with the numbers and now a chance to plant.
Yeah, lockdown does wonders for them, and they catch the player trying to be sneaky behind the double stack up top. So they have the 5-on-3 post plan here. They have good positioning all around. Yes, Rossy and Dicey are a little bit low on health, but outside of that, G2 are going to have to brute force their way through this.
Yeah. First shot good for Oxy, but the double stack of FaZe post plant defenders is formidable. And yeah, it's just too much to clear all at once. The Odin spam, as typical as the damage was, doesn't actually lead to any eliminations, and FaZe Clan now go back to backgrounds and a little bit of conviction in their own right all of a sudden.
Indeed, I do have to say, though, the defense of G2 looked a little bit disjointed there. I mean, when you're trying to play that bait and switch at Y, and once wippie's left alone, it's kind of just a guessing game if he can get a timing or not. Unfortunately, he guesses wrong, and then once you have a situation where Oxy just has to back off of Heaven, you leave Penny just kind of stranded at double stack. So it just seemed like they had some little plays set up, but once they started to fall apart, they didn't really have a way to fall back out of it. And so it just kind of lets FaZe steamroll their way through on their attack. So now they put a couple together in a row, but still G2 with full economy.
And BABYBAY hasn't really had a chance to do much with the operator yet. And a lot of respect given. He's not really taken those face-up opportunities for 1v1s with Oxy, at least not as of yet. So definitely a bit reserved in certain natures, as there's a bit of information. Yep, okay, we know where Oxy is. Maybe that will persuade FaZe to do one thing or another, just trying to stay away from it.
Yeah, they decided to smoke that off just to make sure that Oxy is not going to have an angle at the operators. They try to cross their way over to Catwalk and potentially set up for some type of A-split, but not all their eggs are in this one basket. They still have presence over towards B lobby. They still could go through middle. Alarm bot would detect it, though. There's a big killjoy set up here at B. As we see them poking and prodding at that tree position. Rossy about to set up a recon vault for them to start attacking into tree more directly. Paranoia also helping them come through. When he drops a bit of utility, comes a little early.
Same response, and once more FaZe head back towards mid. A little overkill for the alarm bot, but you got to do what you got to do. Now here come FaZe's onslaught. Oh, and Supa just tries to shadow step in towards stairs, but it's red completely. So now the spike has to be collected once again. dapr from inside the site actually did not actually see the player crossing Rossy, so that leads to FaZe picking up a couple eliminations. POISED is still locking things down, delayed at mid. And G2 don't really have a ton of tools here to break this wide open. They just need to find the kills, and POISED is the first obstacle. It's becoming a hard-pressed option to really get rid of. One more flash still available.
Flash.
He's looking to kind of softball toss that, and the timing is near perfect. Oxy now the last one left. Looking for a weapon and just doing a little bit of shopping. He's going to try to give this one a good old go. One close, one far on the box and in archway each. And it's the one up close that finds the final kill. Rossy collects, and FaZe go 3 rounds in a row.
Yeah, just a really good feint over at tree position. G2 really had to respect it because usually how quickly FaZe will commit to an attack once they get that initial poke. So you kind of feel like that's where the attack's going to come from. They were really reliant on their killjoy set up to kind of defend the B side if indeed FaZe decided to call an audible and swap back to the other side. But FaZe still find a way to break through once the nanos come to a calm, and even though Supa went down, the rest of their attacking force cleared out the B side pretty quickly. And able to hold that retake no problem. So FaZe, like you said, 3 in a row, starting to find their footing here. Meanwhile, economy gone for G2. As we are going to have a timeout actually coming in for G2 from what I'm being told.
Good time for it, I'd say, as well. Because that early momentum has now been completely squandered. All of the bank accounts have been largely depleted. So this would be a big round, I think, just to try to reassert what you had already established early. Otherwise, we start to look towards FaZe Clan and say, okay, well formed off of your early timeout.
Yeah, so G2 actually able to get the full buy here. Oxy will still have the operator. It's just dapr has to go for Spectre is really the only, I guess, handicap to this purchase. FaZe looking like they want to gather up and at least fight for some A lobby control early for Orb at the very least. Maybe more.
Little poke over the top, not going to lead to too much. G2 do not have the numbers to really contest with the amount of force that FaZe are putting here at A long, but they do have the ability
Are you
to get
serious?
Oxy in spawn with an operator.
Bro.
I mean, dude.
Name another time in your entire life that you've seen an op push that fast through B and kill a man in attacking spawn. I challenge you to find the VOD. I want to see it. Because that is absolutely bonkers. I just don't even understand how that's possible. And now think about how much time FaZe has to waste just finding a way anywhere near back towards B main. And the utility that will need to be spent as well.
Oh boy. We've seen some outrageous things in VCL North America, but that one may take the cake.
That was just so ridiculous. I'm telling you, you won't find that anywhere else. A man just running through B like that. It's just a gut check read, realizing how many resources FaZe were committing to that A lobby exchange for the orb.
30 seconds left.
BABYBAY gonna re-lurk back through mid. Time becoming an issue here for FaZe Clan, as they really haven't cleared any instance of A yet. Penny feeling a little bit of pressure, will fragment one side, flash the other. And ShahZaM almost caught here and will eventually be taken down just with his utility out. Penny now called upon, and he's already down to low HP. BABYBAY on the long flank is good. Can he get the plant off in time? Sure. So now Oxy on the way in. He's swapped weapons with dapr, but boy, this has fallen apart real fast considering that FaZe had no intel of what was on this site. And dappr's the last one left, 1v3 operator in hand. Good prediction on where BABYBAY is, but it does not make a difference. That is not how I saw that round going, and credit to FaZe Clan for making it work.
Yeah, that is wild. I mean, obviously a fantastic attack from FaZe. They've now won 4 rounds in a row, but again, it just feels like something was a little bit disjointed in that defense on A, and it's happened a couple of times now where it just seems like their timing's a little bit off when they deploy their utility. They're not really bouncing off of each other very well. Like, it just seems like there's maybe a breakdown in communication on the A site in some of these moments for G2 that they need to tidy up. Meanwhile, FaZe are starting to pick up steam. BABYBAY now up to 10 frags. Remember, there was one point where Oxy had the entirety of FaZe covered by himself. FaZe had like 9 total kills through the first 6 rounds. Now, all of a sudden, everyone from FaZe are starting to flourish. And now you do have that save from G2.
Oh boy, how quickly things turn.
True.
So FaZe Clan running with a full head of steam at the moment, and they are taking their time, just trying to see if G2 is going to try to get away with something again with these early aggressive plays. But there is no stack, no push through, at least anywhere with super amounts of focus. You do have dapr up close with a stinger, his utility behind him, plus stars to cover his exit if needed. But FaZe, once again, are more focused on mid-map as they have been for all 11 rounds so far.
Again, it's just a great launching pad to grab. You know, it allows you to set up so many different side splits if you're able to threaten the middle like this, but looks like it is going to be B lobby. Interesting situation here for dapr. If he goes down, all of his utility is null.
Oh, and just tries to catch the timing, and not going to work out. Just a little bit of chip damage. Knives now out. Poise going to earn the null command with this orb. But it's the spike actually going over towards A, and that shock dart hits a lot of Poised's remaining health pool. So now it's just down to the execute at A, which should be pretty even and open, considering there's nobody home. And the spike will be planted.
Now it's going to be up to the retake. There is the Blade Storm available. A couple of Sheriffs, so there is some hope for G2, but they definitely are on the back foot here, as well as a man down.
G2 stacking for something up top. Poised is not here yet to get this null command in play. Knives out. Oxy around the back. Flash is so well done, and the smoke behind it, but BABYBAY actually gets 2 before the smoke completely embellished the entirety of the front line. Oxy has to go to the pistol just to try to get rid of the sentry turret. He's just going to stick this through the nebula. Finally, BABYBAY pushes through, and that will be the final knife in the coffin here in round 11, 6-5.
Yeah, that was a bold full stick there from Oxy, but it did feel like their only win condition considering all the other obstacles at play, but not going to occur as it's FaZe now 5 in a row. What a response, what a resurgence after such a cold start. BABYBAY has been on point, and the others have folded in as they've needed to. Now we're at our final round of the half before it comes to a close. Can FaZe tie things up, or can G2 find that slight edge before we switch sides?
Once again, focus through mid for FaZe. Null command is out. Alarm bot dealt with very rapidly. This is just to get BABYBAY forward. Everyone else is focused over towards A, so now BABYBAY is going to be the thorn literally in the side, especially if he continues to push forward, but still FaZe have to clear it. Oh, they're just not winning a single gunfight. Good help from G2. Lockdown now in play, and FaZe are stuck trying to have to break through this. Not going to find much of an entrance or exit for that matter there, and G2 will end the half at 7-5 the tally.
Yeah, good little comeback there from FaZe considering how cold of a start they had. And the pistol round victory could really close the gap up all the way, but certainly a hot start from G2, and certainly a lot of it was led from this man here, Oxy. Again, we called him out, having a tough week last week against Oxygen, where Pony seemed to get the better of him, but he's been able to shake that off and have a big half to open up this series. Again, though, FaZe must be said, came clawing back. BABYBAY having a big half and was all said and done in his own right. And so here we stand, 7-5. We switch sides. Again, not much info for G2 on this map. They just had that one game against Moist Moguls where they also got 7 rounds defensively there.
See if any of that can come true here. As, how about G2? Looking to kind of assume some positions here at mid. BABYBAY's watching it. Good crossfire is in play here. Dashing right back over. G2 trying to stick to this play, though. Lots of damage has been dealt. BABYBAY off the reload. Poised here for assistance. And oh, dapr still takes down 2. Getting us to a 3v3, but dapr is a bit stuck. And the spike is also down. Kind of compounding the problem, but as the spike is collected at the same breath, dapr also gets across, and now a chance for G2 to own the B site.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those situations where both teams elected for the battle early at middle, and G2 comes out on top in the exchange as far as coming out even, getting a spike down. So an extra ally on the board of this chess now being played.
Paranoia is still ready with a flash here for FaZe on the retake. There's the first. Flash is next, but Dicey gets the opener. dapr's trying to push through, just does not quite guess correctly. Can applaud the effort, but FaZe, great utility usage, great timing on the retake. Works out flawlessly for them to take the second half pistol.
Yeah, like you said, good use of Paranoia to kind of pave the way forward on the sidewalk. dapr elects to push the smoke on stairs, try to sneak through. In the meantime, his teammates fall on the site, and that's pretty much a done deal. So FaZe likely to tie us up at 7 apiece now, considering their firepower advantage coming into this round. Oxy will pick up a sheriff. So will dapr, but outside of that, slim pickings.
Man, this has been a game of swings so far. I'll tell you that much.
No charges
Shock
left.
dart at the entrance towards A long. FaZe looking to assume some forward halls control, which they will be able to get, even though the knife does kind of reveal some of this. And how about BABYBAY? Good timing. Marshall will connect. Pistol will swap. That's enough information for BABYBAY. Oh my goodness! What in the heck
What
is that?
No way, dude.
Oh, mercy.
You can slow that clip down as much as you want. You still don't understand. Dude.
I mean, I get it. It could be perfect accuracy when you're standing still, but unbelievable. The ace for BABYBAY in unfathomable fashion.
What I was about to say before he continued was that you could slow that clip down as much as you want and you still won't understand how ridiculous those shots were. I mean, holy moly. I get it was G2 save, but what?
Spike, one enemy remaining.
That shot is so stupid.
Dude. If he, the thing is, if he snaps and gets that no-scope onto the Sova as well, I mean, that would have been arguably one of the greatest aces in Valorant history.
That is arguably one of the best Marshall clips you're going to see.
Oh, for sure. Now, knives are out early. And it's Dicey who collects on first blood, as this hit towards A has been completely stifled from the get-go, and G2 will have to reconsider the round.
Indeed they will. Dicey dodges that shock dart completely. Another one's going to come sent that direction. Dicey takes a little bit of chip damage that time around, but nothing too serious, as G2 look to still attack A, but try to open up an additional route by gathering some forces back up towards tree. There is an alarm bot here, though, that will detect this. dapr, of course, has sniffed it out, so now they're just having to play the timing. As they made it a point on the desk that G2 is a more slower-paced team. That is true on average, but I feel like they're at their best when they just gather and trade.
Yeah. Well,
there you go.
Becomes almost exactly a fashion that you were just labeling out. Spike down for G2. FaZe are going to go quickly though on this retake. Already cleared out the sentry turret. dapr trying to shrug off a flash, and oh boy, does he ever. 2 for dapr. Boys eventually securing the trade, but he is stuck with a Spectre in a lot of long-range fights, and wippie would have been around the back to secure the possible trade if needed, but Penny finishes the job, and G2 retake the lead.
Yeah, indeed they do. On the first buy against the FaZe bonus, they do convert, but now FaZe are onto the full buy of their own, and this is where things get spicy. As yeah, G2 definitely a team that likes to play the default and kind of just methodically take map control and kind of go from there. It seems like ShahZaM likes to try to lead that more balanced play style, but he can definitely throw in those tempo changes. And again, when G2, I feel like, are at their best is when they're playing rounds like the one you just saw. They just kind of gather up, throw a set piece, and they just use their talent to swing and trade a sight.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't do that all the time because then become kind of telegraphed, but that is, I think, a big strength of theirs, actually, despite their slower play style.
We'll see if that strength can come into play here. Lockdown in for G2. Orb also being collected behind this. And BABYBAY will be really the only contestant here as he's revealed by the Aldrin. He doesn't have a lot of space to work with here, so yeah, he gets detained. Nanoswarm was out, kind of keeping him from being able to stay inside of that top heaven position, so the site is gained. Penny gonna go for the plant. FaZe still here with numbers though. May look to try to go quickly once again. Side door broken by tree. G2 still with a lot of utility that can be spent here, including ShahZaM's almost full kit to save just the Aldrone. As dapr gets tagged, recon bolt out, that keeps the play towards heaven safe, and BABYBAY actually gets wall banged through this. So now it's just down to, can supamen actually use his paranoia to break through? It's a double folded post plant setup though, and yeah, G2 reaping a lot of the kills, leaving POISED now by himself, 1v2 situation, trying to jump in, he does nicely. Takes care of Oxy quickly and should have an idea that ShahZaM's playing towards this left side of the arch. The shock dart comes over the top, shoulders being thrown, a tag onto ShahZaM, but no time for POISED to hold.
Yeah, he just ate too much damage there. One bullet would have finished him off. Pretty much any location it hit. As again, G2 just showing you that they can bring those fast-paced plays right at you just like FaZe can. I like what they tried to do with the BABYBAY there. Did you see that Gravwell Nanoswarm? They tried to trap him because they knew that he was holding the angle with the op. They were trying to force him into the nano. He just barely got away. But what it did do is guarantee there was going to be no heaven swing, and G2 would be able to get the site a lot easier. And now FaZe are back onto, you know, just to say just the one Phantom that POISED carries over. That's it. As well as a few shares sprinkled in. So G2 have a chance to still have a hot start to the hat despite the FaZe comeback in the previous.
Who knows, we'll just get a tale of quarters here. G2 will do better in the first 6, FaZe in the back 6.
Oh my god.
POISED nearly caught timing on the dapr there, just didn't quite land the shot. Now the Nanostorm is out, that will force BABYBAY into a little bit of a sticky situation. No, it's not quite on the corner, you're right. I thought for sure that was going to be placed to try to deny him, but BABYBAY was just trying to push into it. Finally, the utility starts to connect, but dicey mid-map has kind of split this G2 offense a touch. Lots of damage confirmed. Supa not in an impossible 1v2, but he's only got 7 health, and he still is holding on to a sheriff. Doesn't look good.
Nah, 7 health and a sheriff, you don't like your odds.
Shadows traveling.
Especially with these two teammates eventually going to be able to form up together. With that door going down, it forces Supa to have to play back halls, which means wippie's going to have time to kind of gather with his teammate here on the side itself. Though, Supa trying to play a bit of a long con here through B main. Does pick up a weapon. Still going to be tough to pull it off, and in fact, he's just going to pull the plug and just save the rifle. Understands his odds are not in his favor.
So G2 are going to get to 10. I mean, FaZe has to do essentially what they just did on the offense, VAF, where they've got to put together a great fourth quarter here. In the style of which we've seen these first 6 rounds of this half go, where in your mind does FaZe need to retrain their focus?
That's a tough one. I mean, FaZe are usually pretty good whenever they're able to kind of poke on the periphery of the map and just kind of establish a little bit of intel or maybe even an opening pick. You know, that's kind of their bread and butter, particularly with BABYBAY being kind of tip of the spear in those situations, whether that be set up a one-way smoke on A lobby and fight for it, whether that be, you know, try to get BABYBAY on a forward angle on B main to free up your rotations elsewhere on the map. I think those are some things they could look at because I feel like that's things I've seen them be successful with in the past. It also gives you footholds. You know, for example, if you press A lobby and you get split cat, at least you have an anchor point at A main itself to retake from. So there's a lot of advantages to just getting something going on the edges of the map. But obviously, there's also just a chance that you give BABYBAY an op and let him get aggressive at middle with it. There's a couple of different set plays they like to do where they'll actually push BABYBAY forward on middle to the stairwell to peek B link with supporting utility kind of behind him in middle. So I think it's just disrupt G2 and make them feel uncomfortable early round is probably your best bet.
Got you.
To kind of just break this up. I mean, that's just my best guess.
And I think that I was curious, and why I threw out the open-ended question to you is because for a team that loves to play proactive like FaZe does, whether that's aggressive or proactive, you know, they're the difference between the two words, whatever you decide to choose to do with it definitionally. But I think the thing is, FaZe has not been looking particularly great in the retakes as of yet, and there has not been a lot of substantial pressure on contesting these plans. So I think that there's something to be learned in those last 3 rounds with 2 post-plant fails, so to speak, that maybe there is something that has to change, and I guess doing it proactively is where you're looking at. Okay.
Well, looks like G2 is going to waste no time. They have the B set piece in mind right now, just immediately spilling their utility through the windows and through the halls.
Forces the lockdown.
Yep. They probably knew it was coming, too, and that's why they wanted to force it out as quickly as they could. Look at how much round is still available after burning that lockdown.
Yeah.
Big feint.
The big problem here is that G2 will have no information on aggressive defenders through A. So that becomes kind of a null option. You have to be catwalk and tree or mid, probably at best at this point.
Oh, BABYBAY's going to get the up trap to avoid the shock dart damage and gets away to market. So really well done by BABYBAY there. He was certainly trapped in the corner. He was spotted out. Also, FaZe again here. That's what I'm talking about. They get proactive at A lobby. They get this control now. So now their options are so open to them. They have G2 boxed in basically at B.
I think in a way G2 kind of elected for this to be a possibility, though.
Sure.
How much they were stacked here right at the get-go. So it's going to have to be a B execute, you think.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Falling back now would be tough without having any intel, especially with the slow on the clock.
Oh, and if Poised, if he hits this knife and it catches all 5, which it does, oh boy. Now it's just down to can FaZe actually receive this and just openly trade while they're waiting for this flank. BABYBAY gets 1. How about Dicey? He sneaks through the smoke and finds 2 of his own. Petty, the only one to secure a trade. Trying to follow up with a plant, but no one clears backside archway. And oh goodness, do FaZe ever respond exactly how they needed to?
That's the risk you take if you're G2 and you load up the box at B and you have no presence elsewhere on the map. You don't have a way to fall back. You have to just force it. And FaZe already had the flank being built up from the A push. Poise got to just sit at the back of the site undetected because his teammates were doing all the work. He kind of got to be the insurance policy that never got found out. And so FaZe able to finally punch back after a 3-round spree from G2. G2 now on the back foot economically. They do have the Blade Storm and a couple of ults that they could put into play if they see an opportunity.
Hero rifle from dapr, sheriffs, shorties, frenzies, the rest of the kit. ShahZaM's Al drone will not fully see the corner, I don't believe, and oh, they're all just pushing into BABYBAY anyways. Oh, he dodges through the smoke and nearly fully gets away from Oxy, but the knives do reset. Oxy in trouble though, as the knife suppresses the ability for him to keep him out.
Spike down mid.
And it's just down now to Penny. G2, boy, they've made this punishing, but FaZe are still putting together responses when things get weird.
Remaining.
Oh, hold on a second. A little spray out of the frenzy will work out. Knife now in, and Penny, he wants this weapon on the corner so badly. Frenzy reloads, connects on a headshot, but Rossy still has 80 HP. I mean, you may as well be throwing rocks at this point. Rossy down to 61, and finally he takes away the angle to secure the kill.
Bro, I think what happened there is I think Penny caught a crazy timing where Dicey wasn't quite in range of his alarm bot or something like that at B, and so he was able to walk by it and get into a position to watch through market. Something crazy happened there, but I mean, G2 certainly had a chance. Yeah, you see how they just walked by having no idea that market?
Yeah.
I think there was just weird timing that he caught where he got by the alarm bot. Almost sets him up for a 1v1 victory, but in the end, FaZe do just hold on.
Oh, man.
Back and forth we go.
What a map this has been. All right, full purchase here for G2. Op still in hand for BABYBAY. And FaZe feeling frisky here at A, but will give up any antics towards pushing in through the archway.
Yeah, it's kind of playing that one-way smoke for a little bit. Forces the Owl Drone out from G2 to have to kind of clear a little bit of a way forward. They do get Wine cleared, and that's it. They also pick up the Orb as well. So now they have Hunter's Fury and Cosmic Divide at their disposal. No attacking operator this time, just full rifles. Looks like they want to set up for an A set piece. Perhaps they want to poke at B and middle a little bit just to try to keep the defense interested. But, I mean, there's such an aggressive angle being held by BABYBAY at middle that they're able to kind of still freely keep this three-man A defense in place.
Utility breakdown here. His offense will try to get forward. Oh, and then the kills through mid-map, allowing G2 to more comfortably sweep on in towards A. Rossy, the only one to confirm a kill, leads now to a Rossy 1v4 and ace requirement. And that kill, by the way, was all the way through mid, so he's not going to really have a chance to do too much here on the site itself.
No, not at all. Big on dapr to catch that rotation at middle. And again, just breaking up that A defense, even though it was pretty well lodged in there. I mean, it was good utility to spare, but they just, again, have their own set utility. They're spaced themselves well. They swung out, gained ground, and just traded out, man. Again, G2 are very capable of playing that oppressive play style as much as any other team.
One enemy remaining.
Especially when they got Oxy just cracked out right now.
Yeah, that little follow-up view right there of that secondary flash to come in was so key to trying to help break down that FaZe post plant.
Also got to tip my hat to Penny. We talked about this. There's a couple of struggling players, and both those struggling players we talked about, Dicey and Penny, are also performing pretty well this game. So
good point, yeah.
That's been nice to see for both sides. As FaZe trying to set up forward in B lobby. A little bait and switch here between the Omen and Rossy.
Well, Knife will reveal this, and those shots that came out will also give G2 a bit of a nod, saying, all right, FaZe have taken over some of B main. And that's enough with Stingers out to say, we're not interested. Let's head back over through mid, see if we can either catch someone on rotation or possibly move this defense around a little bit, get them out of B main.
They put that deeper smoke and a shock dart to kind of threaten any utility that would be at middle and threaten the chance that they could be going for market control. It's going to kind of force the hand of Poise to be a little bit more proactive at middle. Meanwhile, Tree still being held at a forward angle by BABYBAY with the Vandal. Killjoy utility kind of watching the main position. It looks like G2 are starting to swing over towards main to set up an A split, but the rotation's already here from Poised.
Yeah. And there's the ability for them to kill off more clock.
Exactly. So, I mean, FaZe have set this up the best they can considering the weaponry that they have.
BABYBAY is going to give away Tree here. Rossy trying to respond to the lock down across the map. I don't think we quite touched it really at all. But oh, BABYBAY with that Hero Vandal catches Oxy before he can Cloudburst and dash into it, but still detained. The Cosmic Divide actually going to assist on getting him out. Fragment will chip a little bit of damage, but he just stumbles and hops his way out of most of it. So the spike is planted, but numbers are held by FaZe, flashing through. ShahZaM trying to capitalize on locking down Heaven, but Supa's gotten the trade. That's another rifle that can be collected. So FaZe now with superior numbers and nearly equal firepower. Just have to get through the remaining G2 members that are on site. Petty, dapr, trying to hold. Wippie trusted to clutch from deep. Aldrone gets essentially flashed out. Teleport across the site, and G2's now start to come together, and they're holding solid. Just down to Supa for the 1v2. Time becoming a problem, has to clear, and he will not be able to. What a hold from G2.
Yeah, it got really scary when BABYBAY gets that first kill, and ShahZaM goes for the swing through the Cosmic Divide and falls at Heaven. You're starting to wonder if FaZe are going to put one across the finish line despite the lower firepower. And it starts with this frag here onto Oxy, and just puts the rest of G2 into a tight spot, but Wippie, Penny, and dapr come together and get the job done. Put themselves at map point here on Ascent. And again, FaZe still not with the best buy. BABYBAY relying on Bladestorm and Spectre as a combo here. A couple of them are on half armor as well.
Scanning ahead.
Man. The dire straits here for FaZe. But it does not feel like they are at any stretch out of this.
No.
Especially with BABYBAY on knives too, so. Plenty of kill potential here. Just comes down to, can they actually respond to G2? who are looking to stack over towards A long. Aldrone will see nothing over towards mid. FaZe are going to use that to step further in towards mid map. Oh, they've got a great idea as far as where this offense is coming from. It's either through B main or A main, and you can see the setup from Dicey is a solid one.
Indeed, it is going to be A again, the target here for G2. Null command comes out as smoke gets deployed, though, and Supaman's going to try to play inside of it and slow this attack down on the side as Poise with the rotation at Heaven. Rossy in the corner as well chips in.
Oh, and Supa then follows up, shutting down the null command from Penny. Nanostorm pushes Poise a bit off, isolating Supa on the site. Or again, is he actually isolated? Not so much. And yeah, FaZe get a solid read on the execute and just flat out overwhelm G2, who never got comfortable on site.
And it just goes back to that whole timeout that we were talking about earlier. It's about FaZe now being a little bit more proactive and taking some map control defensively. You know, that mid push sets them up to be ready for that A attack. Rossy in the corner, Supa on site. They got a Heaven rotator there with Poised. They're able just to kind of bounce off of each other and just kind of keep G2 guessing. And eventually able to shut things down. Now we only have 2 rounds left of regulation. Still very much a chance FaZe pushes into overtime.
Man. And I think, you know, again, like, you go back to what we kind of started with the desk, talking about this map not being really in the wheelhouse for either team, largely throughout this split. We had questions about both squads kind of from a consistency standpoint. Obviously, G2 came into the playoffs in this face-off series really, really favored, but their opening loss kind of shocked the bracket, so to speak. And then FaZe Clan, who put up a really good fight versus a tough guard squad, you thought the potential for them to make a lower bracket run was imminently higher than maybe when they first came into the bracket. So both teams very evenly matched.
True. So I'm curious what G2's looking to do here. They're doing a calculated half buy here, knowing they can still full buy next. But what I'd like to see them do is threaten mid control a little bit more. I like them to take it a little bit deeper. Like, I like how they feint it with the owl drone and with the deep smoke, but I like them to just fight it out a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, and how about this? BABYBAY just going to dash right on in. The follow-up flashes are decent, but oh my goodness, the trades are very rapid and okay. That's how over. That round ends. Wow.
Yeah, again, that's just one of those set aggressive pieces FaZe can do defensively that you've always got to kind of have in the back of your mind that's it's possible to come. And here it is. Superman boosting up on top with the Shrouded Step was just icing on the cake after you see BABYBAY take the initial fight. And so now it's last round regulation. Again, this is why I'd like to see G2 either really hit it fast before the rotation can happen, or maybe gets a little bit more aggressive mid control. One or the other.
Well, BABYBAY is just going to run right over towards Wine with an operator. Again, just keeping things different. Stuns, flashes. BABYBAY will get out of there, not liking to look after being suppressed in the corner. So he will have to reposition late, and G2 have technically won A main with that. Whether they know it or not is a different story, though.
Aldrone gets shut down pretty quickly. Cat doesn't get to read a whole hell of a lot. Defensive Aldrone just kind of ensures they haven't pressed middle yet, and they still have the alarm bot set up there as well. In the meantime, dapr holds some control of B main. G2, again, trying to establish a little mid control. They got worried about BABYBAY, though, here, holding the pretty forward angle on Cat. If they blind peek him, they could be in some trouble, but they kind of walk underneath him, actually. This is going to be very interesting, this interaction here.
If it ever happens.
I mean, it seems like Oxy's aware of the possibility. He's kind of keeping tabs on it.
Just comes down to, do you actually check this or not? And if he does back up towards mid double doors, oh, was BABYBAY just giving up the angle at the wrong time? Oh, it's a catastrophe. So much crucial information just missed right there. Nanostorms are out. Defensive lockdowns in. There's not a lot of time here. Honestly speaking, G2 are going to probably try to commit through this, and yeah, they sure will. Lots of damage from the Nano. Poise is going to be the one to try to respond to this defense when he sees that there is a threat right in front of his face, and it's a shorty that gets the job done as G2 had the first elimination. Spike being planted. Penny will be able to get this off without much contest. FaZe are a little late on this rotation with still Wippie to clear at B main. You've got one player lurking around the back end, Rossy, that may have to make contact here as FaZe are focused on trying to make sure this position is safe. Delayed gunfight. Recon bolt out, but no, Wippie still wins the shots. So now it's down to how do you clear this position out? Supa gets one cleanly onto dapr. BABYBAY finishes off wippie. Now there's 2v2. Oxy stepping forward. He gets denied. Just down to Penny for the 1v2. Is it going to be a map 1 win or overtime? Time becoming a problem, and BABYBAY jump scares them with the shorty. Time will be enough for the defuse, and we're going extra innings.
Oh, that's so tough, man. So tough if you're a G2 fan because they had such a clean take.
Switching sides.
Rolling
Overtime.
past the lockdown, getting the entry in the back of the site thanks to Oxy Shorty, gets the spike down. Seems like they have some advantages to close out in the post plant. I mean, heck, wippie wins a very scary 1v1 inside B main against Rossy. And so you're feeling like things are still leaning in G2's favor, but eventually wippie gets cleared out and everything else crumbles. G2's kind of little bonds that they had between their teammates to trade off each other kind of broke down, and FaZe roll into an OT. Oxy decides to go for the operator purchase, which means no armor in overtime with the 5,000 credits. What does he want to do with it?
The old-fashioned glass cannon build, which has now been read by a sentry turret.
Yep.
And how much does that change FaZe's mentality around what they want to do in the face of that operator? You do have Rossy as well, mind you. That does go to the expensive Odin purchase as well, so his mobility will be a little bit restricted by that as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking to press Oxy as much as they can. And Oxy's immediately going to get the heck out of there. Though he actually decides to hold this corner. What?
BABYBAY just appears out of thin air and nearly takes down Oxy, but it's his teammate who saves a life, giving Oxy a chance. But it's an even exchange. 3v3 we go. 50 seconds on the clock. And G2 will give a little bit of space and vacancy, allowing FaZe to plant.
That was so wild what just took place in main. But now it's a 3v3, as you said. FaZe holding in on the site. G2 starting to get into switch position. Fragment comes through to clear the right-hand corner. Doesn't flush anyone out into open space just yet, though.
Yeah, sentry turret down just to make sure no one's playing in 3B main, but FaZe is fully stacked in around the site. Rossy gets the Odin to sing a bit of a song here. Also, spam damage onto wippie. Poise finishes him off. Just down to dapr for the 1v3. Not going to be able to get through the dark cover, and FaZe Clan take the edge in our first set of overtime, up 13-12.
Switching sides.
Man, oh man. You were liking G2's chances there when ShahZaM shuts down BABYBAY. I mean, that was a wild moment when you're looking at it from Oxy's perspective. Look, he was about to be dead to rights, but the Guardian Angel, ShahZaM shines through. But then from that point forward, FaZe control the round. Get a post plant 3-on-3, and that retake never really had legs to it. Got shut down immediately. And so now it's map point for FaZe. This time everyone just rifling on Odin. No ops in play this time.
Look at FaZe. Triple stacked in towards mid. G2, once again, though, largely going to give up this potential play. wippie is going to be watching for any A-long pressure, but ultimately speaking, FaZe hold an edge here at mid, and, well, they don't see anything with the Aldrone. ShahZaM will also be empty from any intel, but if FaZe decide to swing and peek at this, or if they just wait for players to cross, this high-low stack could very well keep G2 completely bewildered, and it may be a game-winning play.
Yeah, looks like G2 are wanting to go middle right now, but like you said, they haven't smoked off catwalks. That threat of a peak is always going to be there, but the timing is impeccable. G2 do seem just to slip right by. They go through the smoke. They have a deep smoke of their own to allow them to get access to market. And here comes that beast with the defense now has to scurry onto the back of the site and wait for the rotation.
Oh, and dapr's watching for this flank. He's going to get one for free. Supa's going to be held back from this. Now it isolates the defenders on towards site with no chance of any help at all. And another moment where FaZe look like they have a really good response, or maybe just a proactive read on everything, but they get caught away from line of sight, and that is what earns G2 the round to send us to a second set of overtime.
And that's that mid-attack I've been waiting to see from G2 way back in regulation. They were always just kind of playing these site set pieces. They weren't ever really making mid much of a priority other than maybe some initial pokes to get some intel or deny some and check the close corners. They never really made it a big route to a site split, but that time they did. And they caught such a brilliant timing off the aggressive cat setup, which they couldn't have known about. And it all works out. And now Oxy again goes for the glass cannon here on the defensive round.
Yeah.
And it once again go forward at B main with it.
Same
Once again, it's
turret.
been found out. Yep. I mean, deja vu, huh?
Yeah. This is the exact same defensive setup as well as far as utility is concerned, too, mind you. Only thing different is that Oxy is not going to hold that B. He's going to instead take the full wrap over to A and guess to see if he can predict this one correctly.
Oh, look at this
Alarm bot
Killjoy
mid.
setup, though.
Yeah.
If they decide to just burst market go B, they're in for some trouble.
Yep. Especially with ShahZaM also assisting to try to block off this side staircase. Aldron's now out, and FaZe are committed in. Tag comes through onto BABYBAY. Superman still walking in. The first nanostorm is charged out, and now here comes the onslaught. Shock dart right into dappr's face. BABYBAY goes high, and dapr, if you could just find one, that would be incredible considering the amount of FaZe that are in his face. And as he gets taken down, FaZe will go for the plant. And now you're left with Oxy on an operator. How do you get back in with that? On top of that, Poise is still playing through B main. G2 still waiting on the stack, waiting for this dark cover to expire. Placing utility of their own. They block out Poised for now. Oxy hoping for an angle. G2 still searching for anyone they can possibly find in and around the site. But now as they take their attention forward, has anyone been able to really get a read that Poise is still playing in this corner? They're still waiting to see, and yeah, they do finally get the kill with the fragment, but Oxy just misses his dash, and Rossy finds the kill plus a follow-up, leaving Petty by himself. 1v2, the transfer almost there, but no, a bit wide. Dicey finishes off and denies the ace as FaZe once again take the edge.
Indeed, they do, and it's just through sheer brute force. I mean, G2 had the read. They felt the market press. They had the Killjoy utility ready to go. The problem is eventually dapr kind of gets stranded at the back of the B site and gets overwhelmed by numbers. He didn't really get any support from back hall. It got smoked off. No one was really able to press through the stairs and kind of be a part of the defense. And so once he's on an island, FaZe are able to get a pretty quick man advantage out of it. And eventually, despite kind of the tight race after that, FaZe do wind up on top. And here's that big push by BABYBAY I was telling you about earlier that they like to do sometimes.
This is different because it's with the operator for the first time. He's got such an advanced angle. Aldron will see it. BABYBAY has the dash charge. Tries to get away, but no, still revealed by the dart. And that will be enough for ShahZaM to find a very, very quick first blood.
Yeah, really keen spidey senses to deploy that Aldron and detect BABYBAY out in middle. As FaZe now a man down here. G2 looking to knock on the door of A. Superman tries to deter with the smoke. They just kind of flash and dash right through it.
All paranoia well timed keeps Oxy a bit at range, but Penny still takes first blood. No one clears out the corner. Supa, oh, heroics from him as he slips down in towards bricks. And the offense is stuck. They've got a forward position out of dapr at the moment, and that may be enough for the spike to try to rotate back through, but as ShahZaM gets the kill over towards A, Poise may very well isolate all these kills.
And now they don't know what the heck's going on. FaZe, that is. I mean, Poise is like, excuse me? There's just pressure everywhere. Finally, he's going to make the right read to go back towards A, but now he's all alone. Has to break the door here early, and now they know exactly where he is. Dapper's going to be able to come all the way back around to A main to be the insurance policy, and this should be done and dusted.
Yeah, but that or it's going to be an absolute clinic of how to play KO, because all the utility is left for Poised. Not a lot of information. It's two members on this post plant playing in towards A main. The last of Wippie playing just over in front towards Hell, and he will be the one to collect the kill. We go again.
Indeed, run it back. You know the deal. Got to win 2 in a row or it keeps on going.
Overtime.
And, well, in theory, this game could last forever.
Every time.
I just have to point it out after the first couple. Like, there is a parallel universe somewhere where this game is still going for like a year and a half. And that's
With how often you bring this up, I feel like you're like, there's like a little tiny part of you that's like rooting for it. Like,
yeah, I kind of want to see like how can we push the limits of overtime? Like, can we get a game where it's like, 3,024 to 3,024?
We'd have like milestones for like, all right, he's reached his 1,000th elimination in the match.
Yeah. Just saying. There's a reality out there.
Yep.
Is it this one? We'll find out.
After this timeout.
Yep. Brought to you by G2.
Not actually sponsored, they're just one that's called it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's on the screen.
Okay, so now you have to kind of wonder here with G2 not finding it. I mean, neither team finding any defensive success. Does G2 abandon this hero operator for Oxy and try something new this time? That would be the immediate question, and there's our answer. Okay, throw that conversation point out the window.
Could try something different with it, though.
Oh, maybe?
Yeah. He's thinking about maybe going for a peek towards B-Link, maybe off catwalk.
Flashbang.
Early knife, early star place for G2 to control A main. And yeah, this will be just a double stack at tree. Same defensive utility, largely speaking, for G2 over towards the B site. Nanostorms are more towards hallway, though, than they are towards boathouse. And Oxy, and in the timing here, he avoids the paranoia, but still cannot make good on it. FaZe will move their way in towards tree. Double cloud burst is in. FaZe will allow BABYBAY in. Aldrone to support him in this, but wippie holds strong, at least takes down one as the spike makes its way on.
I like that patience from him to at least get the one. He knew that he was in a lot of trouble, but he is able to at least get his team into a 4-on-4 here. As FaZe is trying their damnedest to slow down the heaven portion of this retake with those shock darts.
Which, by the way, is all of the retake at the moment. dapr trying to change things up. Maybe they can play. Flash in. Oxy gets the first clean, but Supa still alive. Bottom side health. Finds the trade, and another right in front of him, but Penny secures the kill, and then Poise is denied from AR trade, leaving Dicey by himself, and it's G2 who break the all-offensive mold and get to the advantage for the first time, winning their defense here in overtime.
Man, it's just Oxy brute forcing his way through a cloud burst onto generator and just connecting the dots as soon as his feet hit the ground. He actually made the last-minute call to sell the operator back and go rifle. And it winds up paying dividends there on that retake through heaven. And so now G2 on the attack, looking to try to put the final touches on this, dot the I's and cross the T's and take a map. But FaZe defensively still has a chance to push this to another overtime. Again, defense was kind of the struggle for both these teams, though. And so you kind of wonder if that's the edge that G2 finally needed to put this one away.
Or will they be a trend separation here in round 30? FaZe going to have BABYBAY very far forward here in mid, just on the other side of the archways. First time he's made a play quite like this. Recon bolt out. ShahZaM. Oh, how about this? BABYBAY dashes forward, taking over B main almost completely here with a little bit of assistance from Supa. G2 now on their high horse, running right into the teeth of a new defensive setup. Dicey has not been set up in this position before, and Rossy is here with the Odin, just trying to spam something through the smoke. Dicey gets the burst, and then more through archway. And then Rossy gets activated and finds a double of his own. Oh, the timing and duality between that play of the Sova and the Killjoy now leaves dapr by himself in a 1v3.
He's being flanked. That will get detected by the alarm bot. He's still got some time, but these players are so well spaced on the site. He's never really going to be able to get what he wants. Oh, actually one gets 1v1. Finds another 1v1 and gets that Rossy. He knows that there's a potential for a flank, but he knows that this Omen could have easily gone somewhere else in the meantime, and now he hears the bullets. The turret there.
Nanostorm just trying to block it off. Still holding the corner. Supa, he's getting tagged by this, but dapr is able to collect, and he's going to go Odin, trying to spam this one down. Oh, it's a bold call. Now back over to the Vandal. Oh, just too much juggling, and Supa will punish him. And on we go.
Oh my goodness. You thought that round was over, and we were headed to this overtime sooner, but then all of a sudden dapr gives you a real scare. Makes you think that maybe it's indeed done. He finds a way to single out BABYBAY on the 1v1, takes Rossy down, gets the intel on the Supa, but unable to get that final frag. And so onwards we go, as you said. Oxy again purchases the operator. This time we'll see if he'll stick with it. Last time he sold it back and wound up going rifle.
And I think the one thing that we could really paint up about that difference is how instrumental was Oxy on the retake, because he had a Vandal in his hands. FaZe, who continue to look to go very strong and very quick over towards a Aldrone in. And Oxy's not in a position to snipe this out. Lots of smoke and nano sword coverage, or pardon me, it's fragment coverage in the front, and wippie's actually going to take down first blood. Lots of reveal. Oh my goodness, the Sova utility really starts to lock things in. But FaZe battle back. 2v2 situation. With the site now gained, Rossy will go for the plant. And it's on to just dapr and ShahZaM. Shock dart's not quite in time to deal any damage whatsoever, but the recon bolt does at least reveal one. Does dapr expect that this is a double stack, though? Backs away just a touch. Here's the swing. FaZe get the kill, no problem. Just down to ShahZaM for the 1v2. Rossy's also earned a Hunter's Fury in this mayhem of a round 31. He just also gets revealed after the last ping, so this would have to be an unbelievable display. Not going to come through, though, as FaZe will take the edge again. Now, all of a sudden, 16-15.
Switching sides.
Yeah, it's just like the
Match
overtime
point.
is here. All bets are off. The gloves are off, and it's getting scrappy, bro. It's just high-octane Valorant at this point. The playbook has been read through a couple of different times. People are trying new things. Just the finest details become huge X factors in situations like this. Who has the composure? Who has the mental fortitude to keep pressing on? Becomes more of a marathon now than anything else. The FaZe do have advantage here. BABYBAY looking to get aggressive here defensively. dapr catches it though.
Wait a second,
another.
Rossy's spray was all over the place, and somehow G2 has turned FaZe's aggression immediately into their face. You kind of saw the spray from Rossy. It just could not get low enough, and somehow, some way, dapr, who I think initially would have been happy with a 1-for-1, takes down 2 and stays alive. 2v5 now all of a sudden for FaZe.
I mean, this is like your dream scenario. If you're G2, you haven't had to do anything. Just FaZe is giving it to you all. You've just been able to play back, play passive, anticipate and absorb the aggression, and just frag out. And now the world's your oyster. You can do whatever the heck you want.
Lockdown just furthering the advantages that G2 have in the round. Spike will be planted, no worries. And POISED will try to go for the 1v5. And, well, he's going to get blindsided a touch here. wippie will find the kill, no worries. And on to the mid-30s we go.
Switching sides.
A little bit of everything in this overtime.
I'll say.
Full buy for both squads. This time, no operator in play. G2 kind of got gifted that attacking round by FaZe aggression backfiring. This time around, we'll see if FaZe make the adjustment and play a little bit more passive. Does seem like they're kind of set up that way. Maybe they get a little bit aggressive on catwalk, but they don't seem crazy committed to a mid push.
Flash.
Early tags will be largely felt by FaZe on the offense here. BABYBAY down to half HP. POISED also loses a bit of armor and health pool with that. So G2 defensively in a pretty solid spot. And they really haven't done much different. This is, again, a very similar setup than what they had the defense. They actually cracked the code earlier. First point of contact. wippie pushed back. Doesn't really get a lot of damage either. And here come FaZe on the stack. Paranoia through. Doesn't really connect on anybody, though. Plus, the fragment will help separate. wippie's able to hit the first one, no worries. Gravity will also in place. How about this from wippie? Doesn't quite get the third, though. And so with that, FaZe enter on. We have a 3v3. One flash remains for Penny. The long play from Dicey is trying to get underway. Or pardon me, that's from dapr as G2 try to get information. They will not quite get a tag. Oh, they actually do get the tag on the supamen. But can't do too much with it. Now dapr on the flank. 1v1 with Dicey. How big could this possibly be? And dapr's patience pays off. Down to Supa and POISED for FaZe. Both of them on site. Both of them at low HP. POISED in the corner. Gets one. Immediately traded out in G2. Survive with 2 members and once more turn the trends around as they take the defense to get to 17.
So now advantage G2. Really solid hold and retake
Switching
there
sides.
on the A side.
Match point.
Setting a step ahead pretty much all the way through. But now they'll switch over to the attacking side here. FaZe will call their timeout. They know how critical this is going to be. Last time, defensively, they tried to get mega aggressive, and G2 was able just to kind of sit back, absorb it, and win the round. And now you kind of wonder what's their call then in this situation.
Yeah, for real.
You know, do they want to play a more passive setup and force G2 to kind of play out the attacking half at their pace? I mean, we noticed that G2, they haven't really used mid quite a lot. They've been more prone to just kind of gather up at a lobby and attack pretty early. Maybe they'll like feint at first. They still give up a lot of map control on whatever side they're not focusing on. And at times, FaZe use it to their advantage and grab that space and set up flanks and such. So if you're FaZe, you kind of have to think to yourself, you know, is G2 going to allow us that, or do we need to be a little bit more proactive? As far as G2 on the attacking side, I mean, how do you close this thing? I think that mid-control threat early round was really good for them in an earlier OT half that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd like to see that again, honestly. I know the HUD's a little bit messed up here, but we do know that it is now G2 on the attack.
Yep. It's just one of those things at a certain point. I mean, what breaks first? Is it trying to do something a little bit too cheeky, or is it that your playbook just kind of runs a little bit too thin?
Take flight.
At this point, you have to think you've thrown just about everything at one another. Paranoia comes out. No tag onto Supa this time, so he will get a little bit of control here at A, but counter utility will still allow G2 to try to threaten, and now they're actually pushed forward in towards Tree itself. BABYBAY takes down one, but he's kind of the only defender here at the moment. Working back for position is poised, but that was a bit ill-advised, I'd say. Walks right into a couple of the G2 members, and now numbers for G2 in the 4v3. BABYBAY still up top. Gravity will lock him in place a touch longer as the spike gets planted.
Placing alarm bot.
Yeah, man down is G2 on this retake. Or FaZe on this retake, excuse me. G2 have great post-plant positions as well, all across the site as well as at main. It's going to be a tough egg to crack.
This double stack down low has to be broken up, though. How do you do that with an operator? And an Odin, for that matter. BABYBAY gives it a try. Not going to find much. It's just now down to Rossy. Can only do so much as he drops in with the Odin. G2 finally take us through the extent of overtime, and I mean the extent of overtime, to finish off map number 1.
Man, I mean, it's kind of tough. I feel like we said it all. I feel like we've had plenty of opportunity with that many extra rounds to basically attack every angle of that matchup. But man, oh man, you know, it was one of those games where it looked like G2 were just going to run away with it at the start. I mean, they had such a quick beginning. Oxy was on fire at out the gate, and it just seemed like it was G2's game. But then FaZe fought back, had their own little stretch in the first half. The reel it in close. Second half's very scrappy. We get into OT where it gets even scrappier. It's just a slobber knocker at that point, man. You don't know what's going to happen. It's just wild. You know, when you got two teams that are willing to, you know, push the limits defensively with attacking the periphery of the map and being assertive. You know, both teams playing those faster set pieces at times, and it was just chaotic. But, you know, finally, you know, G2 found a way to close it.
Explosions all over the place here in just map number 1. If that's any indication how this series can go, get yourself buckled up, because we'll be in for a good one. Maybe an instant classic here. An elimination, lower round 1 match. G2 take the edge. We send things to break for the Destin to break everything down before we jump into map number 2. We'll be right back.
Enemy kill.
One enemy remaining. Spike down A. One enemy remaining.
My double dead. Night night.
Spike. One enemy remaining.
No more sofa.
One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining.
Perfect.
One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Attackers.
With eBay Refurbished, you have a choice of refurbished qualities to best fit your budget. Certified refurbished items are restored by the manufacturer to like new for up to 50% off. This drill was barely out of the box. Soon it will be back to working like new. Here's how it works. Every item is carefully inspected. Any imperfections are fixed by the manufacturer or manufacturer-approved vendor. Then it's tested to make sure it's working perfectly. Once it passes inspection, it's given the verified stamp of approval. Then repackaged with new accessories and shipped to its ultimate destination. With Certified Refurbished, you can shop with confidence because all our manufacturers go through a rigorous vetting process. And every purchase comes with an award-winning 2-year warranty, a money-back guarantee, and hassle-free returns. That's what makes it the smarter way to shop for premium brands. eBay Refurbished. Like new products, better than new prices.
I definitely thought that that game was over long before we ever got to overtime. We saw that early start from G2 and we're like, okay, man, this is the G2 we've been waiting to see. They're going to come out here and absolutely pummel FaZe. And then for whatever reason, FaZe flips a switch and the whole game turns around. We end up going into multiple overtimes before we see a conclusion come through there. But goodness, Dryad, that was a marathon from both teams.
Yeah, so many things happened, and like you said, it's starting 6-0 for G2. It seemed like it was gonna be over so quick, and then it is a good answer from FaZe. I think overall from FaZe, yes, they don't win it. I'm happy to see them performing a little bit better on the defense, but it was brutal. So back and forth. We saw BABYBAY ace, and then just the overtime after overtime after overtime, until finally G2 could take the upper hand. But that was just insanity from beginning to end.
Look at the timeline. The icons are so small. There's so many rounds. 34 rounds of play. That definitely was a war of attrition between these two teams. It was who was going to break first. And multiple times we're like, okay, well, they win X round, whether it's the defensive or the attacking side. The first round, we're like, that's it, they've got it. Nope, sure enough, not going to be the case. It ends up coming down to a pretty strong take on the A side, which we saw a lot of in overtime. This time it was just unfortunate that FaZe was not able to retake, so it will be G2 who walk away with the victory 18-16. A lot of players in high numbers of kills. You've got dapr sitting at the top of the charts. He's 32 and 26, 32 and 20 for Penny. The first bloods, though, being the most interesting thing there for dapr, given that dapr is playing as the Killjoy, almost matching the output in first bloods with BABYBAY.
Yeah, it seemed like whatever site dapr was at, whenever FaZe was hitting it, dapr just did such a good job on locking down the site. He almost always got away with 2K and getting close to 3 and staying alive. And staying alive is super important, especially for a Sentinel when the team's hitting your site, because then you give a chance and an opportunity for your team to rotate back over and help you. So dapr was definitely one of the ones that I think shined for me during this game. But also I want to talk about Oxy, because Oxy was everywhere in the beginning and doing such a good job on the op. He was picking, pushing, just being a menace with the op. One round in particular, we actually saw that it was like 10-20 seconds and Oxy pushed B main and was in the attacker spawn. That was a crazy round to see, and just being a menace all over the place. So that was super important for G2 here.
And there were a bunch of pieces as well that had to work together for G2 to close it out. One was dapr, and I've said it multiple times, he's one of my favorite Sentinels to watch, just because out of nowhere, he'll be doing exactly what you guys said, right? Getting 2 kills, 3 kills. He had an opportunity for a 1v3 to close it out. It doesn't work, it doesn't matter. Next round, he's getting 3 kills, 2 kills, all the time like that. And another key piece that I think it was crucial for G2 to close it out was wippie. He was having a rough game at the beginning. He was 2 and 8. And after that, he was able to end up with 20 kills and just help out a little bit more what the team needed him to be.
Yeah, there was a few players who definitely didn't necessarily step up in the early game, but turned things around as the game progressed. Oxy was interesting because Oxy early on, I think Dust had pointed it out. I think it was like round 5, Oxy was 9-1. That is all of FaZe's kills combined at that point. Well, Oxy ends up finishing 23 and 26. So, you know, what is that, 14 and 22 from that point on, or 14 and 24, excuse me, for 25. So not exactly a great finish, a strong start. It did really look like G2 was going to blow FaZe out of the water, but I don't know what happened. FaZe just sort of found their speed and managed to get their way back into the game. So now as we look at our next map in the series, I am interested to see how these teams take this, ultimately either forgetting it ever happened or trying to adapt off of this into the next map, because it is Haven and that is G2's pick, Em.
Yeah, and we're going to be hopping into Haven right after a lot of OTs on Ascent. So we have to think of I'm a player and I know what that's going to be doing on them mentally. They have to be exhausted, right? They gave out their entire strat book. They put out their hearts trying to win that map and close it out. And at one point, it's just like, all right, what do you do to close it out? So to be a little bit mentally exhausted after a long game on Ascent is going to be interesting going into Haven to see if they have the resources and abilities to just mentally reset for this game. Because now FaZe did pick Ascent and they lost it. And now we're going on to G2's map pick of Haven.
Yeah, this does not bode well for FaZe. It is a map that G2 likes to play, but it is important to note that just because G2 likes to play it does not mean that it has been their best map. I think coming into today, their win-loss was 2 and 3. They played it a lot. They pretty much played it every week except the last week of groups, and they played it in their opening match. They do love playing Haven, and we'll see if they can bring it here in map 2 and try and close things out, maybe in a bit tidier fashion. If G2 can come in Dryad and play the way they did starting out Ascent, there's a chance that G2 just steamrolls. But if FaZe can keep the heat that they built in the middle of that first half into this second map, I think a third map is inevitable.
And also remembering that G2 recently changed their composition. They've been going back and forth. And I also remember Roy on the analyst desk saying maybe that shows a little bit more of them not really finding what works best. And yeah, they've gotten some good results, but they've also gotten some negative results here. So the question is, are they going to keep the same composition that we saw last week? And are they feeling better to just keep this composition going and to be able to close it out against FaZe?
Yeah, and one thing I was noticing when watching Ascent, FaZe was doing what we all had predicted of just hitting, straight to the point, doing all of their setups. It wasn't until they started to slow down a little bit, wait for the Oxy push, that's when they started to win the rounds and gain the momentum. So they have to be cautious of that going into Haven.
Well, I hope our casters warmed up their voices before today, as it was a very long first map, and the second map might just follow in the same fashion. We've got Dust and Shift standing by. Take it away.
Yeah, the interesting thing I think about not just this map and the history that both these two teams have had results-wise, but compositionally as we get ready for Agent Select, there isn't anything consistent or identifying in the history of any of these two teams. Both teams have tried Neon. That didn't really work. Maybe they're swapping back in for Jet. It's been a little all over the place, Dust, so it's going to be kind of a coin flip to see what we actually get here for the Agent composition for both teams.
Yeah, G2 are basically always playing double duelists up until they played against Oxygen earlier in this midseason face-off. They've also tried double controller at one time with the Viper and the Astra. And so, yeah, I'd be curious to see what they decide to roll with. FaZe, on the other hand, have kind of pivoted a couple of times between Jet and Neon as their main duelists. They've also shifted from the Killjoy to the Cypher as their Sentinel on this map. And this time Dicey goes back to Killjoy.
Yeah.
And it is going to be BABYBAY back to Jet instead of Neon. Other than that, things kind of flesh out the way you'd expect. This is the similar composition to what G2 tried last time with the Breach. This time they aren't going to pair it up with Sky, though. They paired it up with Sova. So that is the tweak that they have made this time. And the desk was right as far as, G2 has played Haven a lot, but haven't always had the most success. Again, 2 and 3 record. So their losses have been kind of huge, honestly, and against teams that you wouldn't think they'd lose to, like Turtle Troop, for example. But FaZe has also lost their last 3 games in a row on this map, and all of them were very one-sided.
So a lot of things, again, would be starting to be questioned here. And interestingly enough, this G2 composition, you mentioned the one kind of substitution out here from the Sova, but this composition that G2 is running is actually the same comp that FaZe ran against G2. So interesting to see that kind of come through as dapr is quickly pushed out of Garage. FaZe very rapidly takes some good control through mid, but G2 are looking for aggression in other parts of the map. It's a 4-man stack here towards A long, and they're not going to push super far forward. They're just going to take this ground and see if they can bait FaZe into the trap.
And remember, last series these two teams played, it was one-sided maps, every single map for a 3-match series, but this was the map that G2 dominated FaZe on to close out that series. So keep that in mind as far as recent history goes, as POISED didn't really gain a whole heck of a lot out of that. He knows that they're playing forward on A main, but he doesn't know the numbers. As they're all going to back off and start heading towards C-side, where this turret will eventually spot them. And then we can start seeing that press from G2 to rotate and flank.
Ooh, dapr actually steps in towards site. Oh my, that is a huge headshot into BABYBAY. takes down one, which this was going to be always a retake situation for G2, moving very quickly over towards the direction of Poised, who also falls a touch short. Lots of damage confirmed, but no kills. And now all of a sudden FaZe are only left to try to play towards the defensive side of the map, and they can't find a single kill anywhere. Finally, Dicey provides, but he's been tagged beyond recognition, where wippie will finish him off as G2 take the pistol.
Dude, that was just mind-blowing from G2. I mean, Oxy literally just holds W full steam through A to long C and just one-taps the mess out of the guy in the corner. And then dapr just had some sick reads inside garage. Like, he kind of felt the pressure with the fault line to the garage hallway, but then just kind of immediately picks up the rotation through window you see there on the Rossy, and then G2 just swarmed the side after that, using their numbers, push the distance, and just give Dicey no breathing room. Very good push there from G2.
Ooh, interesting. FaZe are actually going to go into a little bit of a force here with four
Indeed
stingers
they
and a
are.
bulldog.
Oh,
and some heavy armor behind this. This is formidable to say the least. FaZe trying to throw an early curveball here, Dust.
This is a very high risk, high reward player right now. If this doesn't pan out, their economy is going to be in tatters, and G2 can get that hot start like they had on Ascent. But if they can make it happen, they can bust open the pattern and make this game start out scrappy rather than ending that way like the last map did.
Yeah, dappr's going to get the information. It takes a lot of life off of him, but he also sent some back towards Dicey, so the bulldog threat is now known. Aldro and fault line combination. BABYBAY just trying to deny the angle, and he's going to have a little bit of help here. He's got Rossy with him, and he's going to have to spend utility just to clear out this A link side of the map, which is where G2 are largely trying to hit this retake from. Paranoia across the site. G2 looking to go quickly, but again, this FaZe post plant is all up front and personal. BABYBAY getting the opener, and then a little bit of taps needed to finish off dapr. G2 having a real tough time breaking through, but Oxy tries to provide at least some sort of entry. Ultimately, though, the stinger play works out, and as you mentioned, the pattern has been flipped as FaZe take the second round.
And that is essentially the best way you can play an attacking round on this map with that type of buy, is just get into B where you get the forced close quarters battles and battle one of the link areas. Don't give it away, because the moment that you're on stingers and you're forced to play post plant from mid, you're done for. You just don't have the range. So FaZe being proactive, pushing the A link and playing those close corners, that was beautiful. They definitely had that plan from the get-go.
Well, it's a bold call, but it works out nicely. And if you were to look in the history throughout this entire split, FaZe Clan are 50% win rate in even eco rounds that look like that. So it's literally a coin flip at worst for him, and it works out this time. So now back to mostly classics. 2 sheriffs, though, in play for G2, and against what is now mostly rifle upgrades. FaZe are not playing around with eco. They're saying, let's just make sure we've got comfortability across the board.
Yeah, Oxy tries to get a little bit aggressive there at garage. I mean, you might as well roll the dice with a round like this when you're just on pistols, but he's been stamped out right away. As FaZe look to gather their forces over on the A side of the map. Do have ShahZaM playing the sewers corner here, and he's getting a rotation. So he's going to get some assistance from Penny and wippie. So maybe a bit of a crossfire here could kind of battle this sewers push and make things interesting.
They fit the player in the corner, though. That's the thing. BABYBAY goes high. ShahZaM. Oh my goodness. No one even bothered checking. And ShahZaM absolutely makes them punished for it. dapr gets another, leaving Dicey by himself. Rifles are now collected, and wippie will finish it off, securing the thrifty. The eBay thrifty at that, and all of a sudden the pattern turns back around again.
Bruh, we ended scrappy and we're starting scrappy here on this second map. And I mean, yeah, it's just the snake in the grass, bro. The stone left unturned. ShahZaM in the corner with the trigger discipline. Little bait and switch with his teammate inside the site. That rotation he got from Penny meant everything. Allowed him to stay lodged in and wait for the right moment to strike, and boy did he. 3 huge kills with the sheriff. Turns the tides. And now G2 up 2-1, and now they have economic advantage. FaZe, though, still able to put together a pretty good buy. Just the one stinger on Poised. Op out from Oxy early, looking to get aggressive here at A.
Oh, weird set of rounds we've had so far.
Bruh.
Bruh.
That's what happens when you have 2 teams who are willing to play like a headstrong play style. Like, you're going to have those clashes. I mean, obviously, FaZe have been well known for the fast-paced play style for a long time, but G2 are very capable of flipping that switch in their own right.
Oxy has the operator out. Trailblazer will Get some information on this. Hunter's Fury in response here. ShahZaM looking for tags. He gets BABYBAY for the first, tries to predict the updraft, but doesn't follow up with the second shot. So BABYBAY will stay alive and actually do a little bit of clearance here at Sewer, while the rest of FaZe Clan are more focused on trying to hit through C long.
Yeah, he's trying to kind of keep their attention. As you said, there is a big pivot towards C right now. Then there is still some Killjoy utility here, and wippie is jump spotting it. And now he'll spot everything, drops a smoke to try to give himself a little bit of reinforcement to still hold that platform. Like you said, a good paranoia slows down the attack. Now BABYBAY pokes at A, disturbing the rotation defensively. And actually now the attack will pull all the way back to the A side of the map. But Oxy's still holding an angle here.
Oh my goodness, he sees the foot. Oh, just a little two-step from BABYBAY, gets shut down by Oxy, and the fault line across connects onto everything. Aftershock is also there. Oxy nearly good for everything, but the play is still alive. Rossy's gonna get the clearance to plant. Supamen watching over the top of him, so the spike gets planted. We go 2v2. dapr and wippie on the retake. Both playing just outside of Lincoln. Now they're both gonna play up to heaven. As Rossy and Supa on the other side are on the double box and just below at Hell. Here's the focus. And it's going to be Supa who just shuts it all down from the low ground as FaZe still sneak away the round, considering the prime shots from Oxy.
Yeah, you can't really... I mean, G2 just crumbled there, man. That should have been theirs all day. I mean, considering they shut down the C attack, considering Oxy gets this frag, considering the fault line and aftershock onto sewers, the angles that they had, they just let Dicey slip between the cracks with that B press into A link. And then all of a sudden they find themselves behind. Again, a little sloppy there from G2, but also credit the FaZe being crafty in a tricky round where they were, you know, kind of in a mixed buy. G2, meanwhile, having to save this round. FaZe looking to take A strong early.
These knives are very, very intimidating, I'd say, as Oxy just gets aggressive on this angle. Oh, baby's not interested at all. Absolutely clothesline as he tries to cross. So now it's down to G2's defense, as it looks like FaZe are going to commit on in towards B. Poised will get some good information. dapr still for one. The trade is there, and as Poised collects the spike, it will be planted.
That is actually crazy. dapr got one. He was getting pushed hard. He got stunned by the Trailblazer. Still pops off one frag here, but gonna be tough for G2 to find much more room, but they catch BABYBAY up top. They get it into a 3 versus 3. They have the Stinger and a Sheriff.
And there's a lot of utility here. Seekers are out. Boys looking to regain some ground. Fault line will push him right back, and the concussion is good. G2 have a lot to do at range here is the biggest problem. Supa's also on the close flank. And there it is. ShahZaM tried to step in, try to cause a problem for the defenders of this post plant at the window, but doesn't quite get away with too much, so it's just a couple of kills, and FaZe Clan take the edge here through 5, 3-2 up.
Bro, what is this half already? Finally, we have a couple of rounds in a row going the way of FaZe, largely due to G2's economy finally crumbling, but it has been such a back and forth affair already. Just BABYBAY, clean one tap there onto the knives of Oxy. Good little B take there. Supamen, a great insurance policy from Garage, kind of making sure they'd always win that round. We have Penny opping on the breach.
Yeah.
Interesting call here.
Very interesting call.
Obviously, he's known to have used that weapon in his past on version 1 as a jet operator in his own right.
There is a lot of near kills that just came through over at A lobby. But FaZe's focus is actually here at C. It's really just dapr's utility in the way, and Supa actually just takes a hefty chunk of damage, and dapr now tries to recontest, takes down BABYBAY, so numbers all of a sudden turn to G2. Lockdown's going to be in play, and ShahZaM even connects with a shock dart. Rossy, feeling the pressure, already calls out the Rolling Thunder, as we have a little bit of a Venn diagram of lockdowns at the moment, just on top of the C site. But G2's going to get a lot of clearance. They use this to get back in. It's just FaZe playing a post point at range, and Oxy can try to contest this with the operator. Takes down the first. FaZe need to try to step into this. Rossy has to step forward, but as he does, he's taken down, and G2's retake is flawless.
Really well done there. You have to give a ton of credit to dapr, just getting that first kill onto BABYBAY, slowing down the attack, putting the lockdown into play. Of course, it gets canceled out by the attacking lockdown, so everyone has to just kind of sit back at that point and wait out the ults. But once they faded away, Oxy comes up huge with the operator on top of the C boxes, shutting down FaZe's post-plant hold from long, and tying the game right back up at 3 apiece. And no one has gotten more than 2 rounds in a row yet this game. It has been a seesaw battle on Haven. Again, a map that both teams have played quite a lot, but have not had the best records.
Right.
Granted, FaZe has only played it twice this year, one of which was a loss to G2 in a one-sided fashion, the other against Oxygen, also in a one-sided fashion. G2, in the meantime, traded games with Oxygen between the split and this mid-season face-off, and had a lost Turtle Troop, but did beat FaZe. But again, kind of like Ascent, I feel like Haven's one of those maps that's just been a staple, right? It's been here from the get-go. I mean, there's been some different metas that have rolled through this map over time, sure.
And a ton of different ideas to change those metas, too.
Yeah. I think the advent of Breach coming into the fold was like the big one at the end of last year that really kind of took over on this map. The double initiator in general, I think, has been very big here. And now we're back to traditional Sentinels being a factor instead of Chamber.
Oxy aggressive with the operator, BABYBAY with the knives out. Oh, so much revealed off that recon bolt, but Oxy does not get a look at any of it. So he will have to kind of forfeit the angle. G2 going to reposition just a touch with that information, especially with a couple of key tags, mostly on BABYBAY, who you have to figure is always going to be the tip of the spear in this team.
Yeah, I mean, FaZe are keeping their forces loaded up at A. They still have presence with this turret at middle, thanks to Dicey's position. He's also watching for a C push. So it's not as if FaZe don't have ideas on what's going on elsewhere on the map. They're not being completely contained in that regard. Meanwhile, the read is still here from G2. That FaZe is still lingering around the A side, and they're keeping this 3-man defense in place. They have not wavered. Kind of curious if Dicey could make a play. That's the big thing. Like, the position that he's starting to get could be worrisome.
Yeah, but the sentry turret that's there should likely keep him at bay. I mean, there's just so much trust for G2 based on the resources that are stacked at B and mostly on the choke points at the C site. So now 30 seconds left, and FaZe are going to have to make a gut check reaction call. They may not even know that the sentry turret is even here at the moment, let alone that you've got wippie who could just get away with a defense here by throwing a paranoia if he wants to. Trailblazer is out. Duck Carver will be spent just to make sure that there's a denial of space. And yeah, okay, with the sentry turret also being deleted, G2 will have to forfeit the site in order to play retake.
10 seconds left.
Well, this was the plan all along. That's why they kept that A defense in place for so long. So they must have some idea on how they want to play this retake. They try to flash their way into Garage. BABYBAY comes aggressive though with the knives, and he and Dicey combo for the double kill.
Give Dicey another. BABYBAY looking to possibly get aggressive here as he found a weapon to collect. Knives still the main focus, but ShahZaM denies very quickly. But the problem here is that Oxy has an operator, and the chance for them to try to break through 2v5 is null. And so with that, FaZe will once again go back out on top as we have another really mixy back and forth affair here, this time on Haven.
Yeah, I mean, G2 were just so confident in holding that 3-man A setup, even without any real information. They weren't spotting a sewers cross with Oxy's angle. They didn't have any intel at long A, and they were just kind of hoping that they could play a retake C if they had to. And unfortunately for them, that's exactly what they were called on to do, and they could not make it happen. FaZe play aggressive inside Garage and shut down the retake before it can even really get started. I mean, that combo of Dicey and BABYBAY on the window of Garage, those first 2 kills, that meant everything. And G2 has a lot to think about here. They've only won 3 rounds defensively, and they've all been spread out. And they've had struggles on defense in the past, man, I'll tell you that. Yeah. Like when they played against Turtle Troop, they only got 4 defensive rounds. And then when they played Oxygen in the split, they also only had 4 defensive rounds. They had to have a really big attacking side to make the comeback there. Meanwhile, when they beat FaZe in the first week of the split, they had 9 defensive rounds in the first half of that game.
Yeah.
There's no chance of that now.
And think about how 2 of these 3 rounds for G2 have come. 1 off the pistol and 1 off the weird eco situation. So they really only won it at full purchase. They've only won a single round of defense so far.
Right.
Interesting scenes. And again, you know, we talked about the long history of this map, and how the meta has certainly been more asserted on, you know, what you look to use in the form of things like a breach and then a dedicated sentinel, whether it be Killjoy or Cypher, your choice, right? But these are two teams that it took them a while to figure out what they even wanted to play on this map after the mixed results. So
Turn out.
a little bit of comfort needing to be established on both sides, but like you mentioned, definitely more pressure towards G2, who have had a real tough time here in the last 4 rounds.
Now they're once again setting up for some A aggression here. They have the fault line charge from Penny, and they have Oxy looking to play with ShahZaM through long A early here. Smoke is going to come up to kind of deny the intel whether they made a sewers cross or not. Meanwhile, FaZe this time are much more rapid on gathering up at long C for an attack. And they are not wasting any time.
No. Oh, and Wippie just gets absolutely destroyed before he could do anything to deter this push. And dappr's on site still. He's getting a little bit of splash support as he nearly takes away an entire side of the site by himself. But spike will be collected. Rossy going for the plant, and G2... Oh, they're going to get a kill off the shock dart from ShahZaM just before the spike gets planted. And now with follow-up support from ShahZaM with the Hunter's Fury, this could actually be a hold for G2 all of a sudden. Oh my.
They get the info. They got the targeting there. Hunter's Fury comes through, kind of goes wide, though. Maybe they get afraid to get the main advantage back for FaZe and hold the phone, because all that work that ShahZaM had done has now been kind of eradicated.
Man. The reveal, the fault line, all of it hits, but the Hunter's Fury comes up empty. You have to know that ShahZaM was absolutely frothing for a moment at the mouth. Doxy now by himself. Shorty gets the kill. He actually exchanged it now for a Phantom. Still doable. Toggles for the defuse. He's going to have to force a contest, but it just comes down to where it comes from. The first one's good. Dashes forward. Oh boy! POISED in a little bit of trouble. The flash, though, tilts the fight to his advantage. And that's enough for FaZe to grow a cushion of 2 rounds.
And it just seems like there's a struggle for G2 defending the C site or retaking it. And you remember in the past, the key to their defense was dapr as the Cypher anchor on the C site, and how much value he was able to have in that role, slowing things down, the double cage setup with the trap wires and the cams, and just kind of being able to anchor that so comfortably. They've now pivoted him to a Killjoy, and he's kind of being more of like the garage B rotator role, and they're trusting Wippie to be an anchor as an Omen. And it just hasn't really quite panned out. Now, often he's been able to get away and they play retake, but again, those retakes have rarely worked, and that time he got caught outright.
Wow.
And now it's coming again.
Yep, and it's coming very quickly without much of a hands for response. Paranoia is desperately thrown. And Wippie actually teleports into the aftershock that would have killed him if BABYBAY didn't. So once again, FaZe Clan starting to really turn the pattern towards their favor. Playing around with where they want to put the spike exactly. It's also going to allow Dicey a chance to get his orb for a lockdown just in case it's needed. But against Sheriffs and a Marshall, I think you feel pretty comfortable at the moment if you're FaZe Clan. Oxy on the long side of C, hoping for some contact here, but Dicey takes care of him. Supa makes safe the defense that's coming through the defensive spawn, and that will be round number 6. ShahZaM tallies another kill by way of shock dart, but it's a mere consolation prize as FaZe Clan continue to just reap here on the offense.
Yeah, it started out as a back and forth affair, has become FaZe on top. They've won 5 of the last 6. They've been dominating on these C presses. The retakes have not been there for G2. The hold has not been there when they've tried to play the on-site. FaZe just really getting on a roll here, but now Oxy's back onto an operator. Again, they're going for this aggressive A setup early, and again, so are FaZe. So we're going to see, well, never mind. FaZe pull back on it. At the very end here, they decide to gather up at C again, but this time, it's the Killjoy anchoring.
So does the difference in defender build any more favor for G2 here, who are already not seeing much utility being thrown over towards A, and they're hard predicting it's going to be a long C hit, but FaZe have bit their tongue this time and are just kind of waiting and patiently drawing G2 into an uncomfortable position.
I mean, don't get me wrong, dapr's probably more used to playing the C anchor role. I mean, again, that was what he used to always do as Cypher, though. That's the big difference. Now he's having to do it as Killjoy, a little bit different utility set to try to anchor with. As the pressure is being felt at A, Oxy will back off. Still has 2 defenders on site as reinforcements. He's trying to just jiggle sewers. See if he can catch something here.
Fault line doesn't quite connect. Penny waiting for the call, has the Rolling Thunder, but the lockdown will dissuade him from actually using it here. So once again, G2 will be stressed. Try to make a retake happen. Unless ShahZaM can find some sort of an opening from topside heaven, but no, not going to have a chance to. FaZe very patient. Now get the chance to set up their post plan. It all comes down to how much value can you get out of this Rolling Thunder. Aftershock actually goes right to Superman's direction. He takes a little bit of damage on this. It's Rossy who sends out the ultimate first, and now Penny responds. Hit behind this. Aftershock, Nano Swarm, but Oxy gets two. They're lined up inside of hell. And how about a third? Oxy may have just saved G2's chance on this retake. Dicey in the corner, still something to say about it, but it can only do so much. And G2 get the 4.
That's always the tough thing when you're playing that many players on site post plant against a Rolling Thunder. It makes things so much more tough on the players outside the range to try to keep you safe, keep you lodged on the site. Playing deeper in sewers and deeper in long A, but they were unable to do so. Oxy just dashes in, catches both stun players underneath heaven, helps find a third pretty quickly after that, and then the rest of G2 coming to the fold. So finally a big response out of G2 to keep this half close with 2 rounds left to play. Oxy still has the operator, and he's changing it up this time. He's playing on top of B. And I'm curious this will catch FaZe off guard, because they have not really seen this op anywhere else but at A.
Yeah. Whole
what
free
the
fire
hell?
spam to mid. No way.
That's so dirty.
Yeah, now Oxy up top takes down a second, though Supa does get the trade on the op. dapr in a little bit of pressure here. Lots of flashes coming through. Penny trying to respond with flashes of his own, and they connect beautifully.
Down B.
Oh boy.
What a combo.
I'll
Just
say.
an instant wall spam at middle. You know, if you're dapr, you're feeling so good about that. You got that big, wide smile on your face when you pull that one off. And then Oxy gets one as well at the operator. So G2 gets such an early advantage on that round by just changing up the defense just a touch. Obviously, the spam kill off the rip is a little bit luck involved, but at the same time, it's just kind of understanding where you can pre-fire and have an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Enemy remaining.
And how funny this match of Valorant's been.
Bro,
We
how
start
funny
this-
this series has been. What do you
know.
mean?
We start talking FaZe and how favorite they look 5 out of 6 in a row, and then a convincing retake and a quick round from G2 immediately turn us into a possibility of a 6-6 half. I mean, come on.
That's a wild one for sure. Final round here. Once again, G2 looking to get assertive at A. Oxy getting aggressive with the op in Sewer's position. BABYBAY's already made his way towards long through the way of lobby. Oxy not overstaying his welcome, gets a more passive angle.
Oh, just as Rossy was looking to cross. The orb collected at C long. The focus seems to be over towards A, but Rossy's a key loss here for FaZe. Seekers are out. You still got BABYBAY forward here. From the shadows going to be queued into the A site. And it's stuck. ShahZaM, any more magic out of these shock darts? The first one hits a huge chunk of Supa. Follow-up, not so much, and FaZe will still plant. Dicey lurking. He's actually going to maybe threaten the lockdown here. Oxy shuts down the potential threat, and now it's down to knives. Defense looking to go quickly. Post plant for FaZe. Largely going to be at the deep side of this. Aftershock is very well placed. Oxy a little sloppy on the shots, but doesn't make much of a difference. Utility was well placed, and now you've got a detained Supa trying to come back through sewer. Has to go quickly. Double shell on the way for G2. Hold on a second, but no. Penny will eventually get out of the cloud burst, find the kill, and take the round to tie us at 6 somehow, Dust.
Yeah, G2, a good recovery here at the end of the first half to draw it back within a tie. I mean, again, FaZe had a run there, winning 5 of 6 rounds in the middle of the half, but G2 take the last 3 in a row. Some of that was due to just some crazy antics from Oxy. Obviously, dapr had that crazy wall spam kill at middle at the very beginning of the round. And then that final round was just, again, a great opening pick from Oxy, a great lockdown. They picked up on Dicey's flank pretty early, so it didn't have too much impact, and kind of just came together and got the job done to tie us up at 6 apiece.
Man. What a series.
Definitely much different than last time. Because remember, the last time it was a
I'll
3-mapper,
say.
but they were all landslides for whoever won. This time has been just back and forth as much as you can possibly get.
Well, it's FaZe opening with some breach utility over towards A lobby, but not a lot of contest towards sewer or long. It's actually going to be a 3-man hit towards mid, and there's an alarm bot here. So if FaZe popped the window, would they ever expect that? And yeah, I think now all of a sudden the alarm bells will ring. dapr will turn to try to face any potential threat, with the sentry turret being the first point of contact, the noble sacrifice, if you will. And ShahZaM's actually going to step even a little bit into this play. So the impetus of G2 trying to make safe the flank has kind of kept their defense around the spike a bit limited. And FaZe is starting to get a bit of a read on this. Just comes down to, can they actually capitalize and find the kills, because G2 are in some tricky spots. Another paranoia play with Oxy. Works out nicely. Dicey up top gets one, but nothing more. Leaving Rossy on 7 HP in a dream. And G2 will take the second half pistol.
I have to say, I was a bit scared for G2 there for a moment in that post plant, because it seemed like ShahZaM might get stuck in no man's land, pressing up close on that corner, but dapr had his back from sewers the entire time. And when that fault line came through, when they're going to try to swing ShahZaM, dapr kind of saves the day, and Oxy cuts off the rotation from the low side. Obviously, as you noted, a great paranoia from wippie helped as well, kind of disrupt that part of the rotation. And now we see G2 buy up big, bro. 4 rifles. Ain't no bonus coming round 3 for G2, bro. I promise you that.
I dare you to bring stingers to...
Let's go.
But no, from the defensive side, not often you see a buy like that.
No. This is the full save from FaZe.
Yes, sir.
Not even a Marshall or a Sheriff, just full classics.
See what they have to offer here. A lot of threat from G2 in both instances at A. Similar setup as far as dapr watching the flank, just exchanging where the sentry turret is for where the alarm bot was last round, and G2 will try to rotate back.
Indeed they will. Looking to go over towards C-side now with the spike. Now there are 3 defenders in the area.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess FaZe are as well positioned as you could be, but again, it is just classics at the end of the day. And now if BABYBAY gets hit by the fault line.
But they don't actually clear out the corner. Wait a second, BABYBAY's still alive back here. He dashes away to safety, finally tracked down and dealt with, but G2 is not cleanly getting into sight. In fact, they still have a couple of FaZe members to deal with, but that final flash puts both out of commission. The easy follow-up is there, and G2, they're pressed, they're stressed, but they come away with the win.
And they do retain 3 of the rifles, so at least it's not a situation where they're having to rebuy a ton of the heavy investments. Oxy able to get the Phantom, no problem. Same with wippie. So it's, you know, kind of no harm, no foul on that. Though that was maybe a little bit scarier than they wanted it to be. FaZe on the full buy, though. Vantil's aplenty. No ults in play for some time for either team. Early gathered from G2 here at C-Long.
Blinded.
Flash in, smokes to cover. Poised once again, hit by that same fault line, but the spam doesn't actually quite land. Now the counter flash is in, but Oxy still comes away with 1. Poised in trouble, gets spammed through the boxes. Rossy also committed into the site, trying to keep some sort of defense alive here at C. But ultimately it's G2 who sort of win the site out. I say that with some hesitancy because there's a little bit of finesse play going on here, and G2 don't actually get the spike on site at any point, which leads to FaZe putting together the response kills, and now wippie all of a sudden with the spike is in a 1v2.
Indeed he is, and this is a tough one. He's got spike, he's got a lot of time. He puts the smoke down, he goes for the plant, but the 2 FaZe members are playing together through back halls, and he's going to be so exposed to it.
Oh.
Down to the wire on that one, man. You thought maybe for a moment wippie might just pull it off.
The spike is defused.
Again, it just seemed like G2 got a little lost in the sauce there once they got on site. Again, they're good when they go for the fast-paced plays, but they just kind of weren't as efficient as they needed to be on the site.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it was, I was about ready to call it, like, and G2 win the site, but there was that lingering play through Garage. The spike was still at C-Long.
Yep. They were just a little bit too split up on that.
I agree,
BABYBAY's basically getting 1v1s on that back hall rotation, and there's just no one there for G2 to trade. And normally, they're spaced out pretty well for that, but that round they were not. And FaZe really exposed it.
Revealing area.
Well, it puts us into a bit of a scatter buy on both sides. dapr with a sheriff, the rest of the team on some sort of automatic weaponry. Penny's got the Spectre still out. We're on the other side. He's got 2 Bulldogs, pardon me, 3 Bulldogs and 2 Vandals for FaZe. And with the knives earned, Oxy will give dapr a rifle and trust the Bladestorm to get the work done for him.
Yep, they're pressuring Garage a little bit here. Meanwhile, ShahZaM gonna get pressured by this Trailblazer. It spots 2 players just kind of watching and spawn. ShahZaM now pulls out the owl drone to clear those close corners at long. Does not spot BABYBAY though, still holding the sewers angle. I'm sure they're aware it's possible.
Good flash. Poise was lurking a bit too far forward. That now forces FaZe to move their defense around, and actually they're allowed to do this. Supamen's gotten some good C-long presence.
Oh, that timing is unreal.
Yeah, I don't think Wippie saw him initially, but it doesn't make much of a difference. Paranoia just to get Supamen back into safety. Dark cover to follow up, and now all of a sudden the defense is completely split 2-2 on either side. And the Paranoia in allows Oxy to move in towards the site and beyond that. So spike planted, FaZe looking to regroup and try to hit this for a retake. They've got a flash, an aftershock, and a lot of BABYBAY utility to try to make things work. But it's into the knives of Oxy and the rest of G2, who are largely still playing on site. Smoke expires, and Dicey actually gets the first really cleanly, but Oxy just jumping over the boxes. He's got 3. How about 4? And then full ace. Unbelievable from Oxy.
Oh my goodness, dude. Oxy just being an absolute maniac that round. Things got a little bit squirmy there from him. Like, the initial take was really good. Obviously, that initial frag was really good. But once we see FaZe start closing distance, Oxy just has to go to town with the Bladestorm. And boy, does he. A brilliant ace puts him up to 22 frags. Again, we talked about how much of a superstar Oxy has been. He has been leading in so many categories in this first split. Had a bit of an off game against Oxygen in the upper bracket, but he has been back in full force against FaZe today.
Oh, now BABYBAY, his turn with the knives. Flashes, smokes, fault lines, trying to get BABYBAY a kill in towards mid. But G2 not get caught, and now they're looking to do the exact opposite. FaZe stretched here defensively as Oxy just sprays down Supa, who could not get the classic to hit. And that will lead to a plant. Oh, but over the top, BABYBAY takes care of a low HP Oxy. And now a chance. FaZe are going to go quickly here, and Rossy gets an unbelievable elimination from the front, but the Rolling Thunder catches just about the entirety of FaZe, allowing Penny to follow up off of his own utility. So it's BABYBAY for a 1v3. Knives off the reset, guesses left, but ShahZaM was right. And that'll put G2 to 10.
Man, you have to give a bunch of credit to Penny there. He kind of saves the day with that Rolling Thunder because FaZe were starting to really create a disturbance there on the site. I mean, brilliant opening frag from Oxy, but the follow-up from FaZe was so good after the fact. And then that Rolling Thunder just allows G2 to get back into firm positions to get the spike down and ultimately get the dub. As outside of Oxy being way up there, it's a pretty tight frag distribution for both squads. I mean, it is very neck and neck, and obviously the scoreboard shows that way too, 10-7.
You know the funny thing about that?
Go ahead.
Outside of Oxy's individually takeover moments and all the statistical leaderboards that he shares at the top of NAVCL, both of these two teams, even though they share very different results in the win-loss column, have almost exactly the same statistics percentage-wise across all of their forms of eco. Total rounds won versus lost, light buy, half buy, full buy. They're all within like 4 or 5% of one another. Like, these two teams on paper outside of Oxy are tremendously close.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, Oxy comes into this number 1 in ADR, number 2 in ACS, number 2 in kills per round. It's also top 5 in first kills per round. And then you look at FaZe, and Poise is kind of right behind them in a lot of those categories within the first kills. BABYBAY, though, is just behind Oxy in first kills per round. Yeah. So it is very much a tight spread when it comes to individual firepower. But now we're starting to see G2 kind of stabilize on this second half. They've won 4 of the 5 rounds played so far.
Once again, FaZe throw out this opening defensive fault line and don't really do a lot of follow-up off of it. Not that G2 were really threatening much with that smoke coverage being in play, but G2 are usually pretty quick to re-clear this position. And on top of that, now there's a little bit of a threat starting to be established over towards Garage as the alarm bot is deleted. And the Aldrin, yeah, will just essentially say, nope, nobody's here.
Yeah, really good feint there from G2, putting so much pressure on Garage. It really forces FaZe to kind of gather up defensively on C and press for information now, which means that the rotation's going to be a lot longer to get over towards the A side of the map, and it may force FaZe to play more of a retake A setup. Meanwhile, G2 are looking to throw a huge fake here. They're putting a lot of numbers at long A, but that spike is going towards C the entire time. wippie has his ult to get over there and reinforce the C attack, as Oxy is just kind of sit in as a trebuchet to kind of just wreak havoc on the site by himself.
Yeah.
This is so beautiful.
ShahZaM gonna re-wrap back out towards sewer. Interesting here. They're gonna grab the spike and they're actually gonna commit to this. The thing about it is, FaZe are here for this. Plus, they have the Rolling Thunder to contest, which is exactly what they do. BABYBAY, the first one in. He takes care of the spike carrier. No plant behind that. Oxy now has to collect the spike and plant and deal with FaZe on the site, and he may just do all of it comfortably. Are you kidding me? This guy is unreal. Dicey now for a 1v3. In the most unlikely of executes from G2, for one reason or another, now Dicey has to work through a bunch of Killjoy utility, deal with multiple G2 members that are all stacked for crossfire positions to his left, and G2
One enemy remaining.
nearly don't even get to 11 as Dicey takes 2 of the 3 out.
Bro, you know how it's like if emergency break glass and it's like a fire extinguisher or an axe or something like that, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Of course
like
I do.
It's like G2 have a if we're getting screwed, break Oxy out button, and the man just delivers individual play after individual play to save the day time and time again. It's unreal, because that was going south real fast for G2. Like, they were trying to get really fancy there. Like, they were kind of faking A and then thinking about going C, where they would have the ult to kind of reinforce it. But then they decided to just ult and grab the spike back and go A, and then it kind of fell apart due to the Rolling Thunder. But then Oxy just does Oxy things, bro. And now FaZe are in a precarious position because they buy what they can here, but it's 3 Bulldogs. If they lose this, they are in trouble. And Eddie with the double up gets it main advantage for G2 and the site.
That's enough to open the floodgates, run on in, get the quick plant. You've got post-plant support in garage at the moment. You've even got wippie deep in towards the double stack box in the top left corner of the map. And FaZe are down bad.
They might have to save these weapons, bro, if they can't find something quick.
It has to be fringent upon getting a kill on site, right? Because this post-plant is so dynamic. Here comes the play. Flashing on in. Oh, and wippie tries to slip into Cloudburst. Not going to work out. Penny provides the trade.
Player standing.
But FaZe are fighting on in. dapr now the 1v2. Both players inside the dark cover. dapr to catch timing here. Gets the first, but Rossy hops off just as he gets to halfway. And FaZe will get the retake and keep their hopes alive here in map 2.
How does this keep happening? It's so wild. And I kind of was curious about it because G2 seemed awfully reliant on heroics from Oxy to close some of these rounds because of how easily FaZe has been able to cause disturbances in post-plant situations for G2. And that time around, he wasn't the hero, and G2 kind of crumbled because of it. And now Oxy does have Blade Storm, so they're still basically full bot here. They have Rolling Thunder and Hunter's Fury, 2 huge tools to pave the way onto site and a way to cancel out the lockdown of Dicey.
Oh, man. Oxy with knives and a shorty. But look at the FaZe stack. Doubled in towards sewer. BABYBAY first contact. Aldrone needs to be dealt with, though. Rolling Thunder comes out. BABYBAY is pushed off, but Supa does at least get 1 kill. Maybe providing a little bit of space, but no. Not going to happen. Seekers only a mere distraction as the hit is underway. Boy, still actually able to fight one back, but that was a troubling second.
Spike planted.
And now as Penny gets the spike planted, it's down to Dicey's again. Oh, those knives just giving him literally a haircut. You've got ShahZaM deep in towards the cubby at A-long. Dicey trying to get towards the boxes. Gets forward. Cloudburst down in front of him. And Oxy is so slippery from this POV, man. Are you kidding me? Dashes Cloudburst, and it's a Phantom 1 tap to finish it off. That's got to be so frustrating to play against.
Match point.
Bruh. Like I said, in case of emergency, we got Oxy. And now it's map and series point for G2 and FaZe facing elimination.
Placing swarm grenade.
Good breakdown of the site here as G2 really just kind of cruise in towards C. The defensive lockdown trying to start a potential retake. Hunter's Fury's also out for ShahZaM as he will delete the defending lockdown, giving a pretty steep advantage here towards the post plan for G2, which is heavy stacked that long. And I think they were realizing, wait a second, we may have too many members back here. So let's let Oxy go forward. We'll keep Wippie close by at Cubby. And here comes the FaZe retake. Trailblazer through Garage. Oxy just trying to hope he finds a piece of timing. Flash comes through, catches one freely, backs up in towards the safety of cover and the rest of his team, but the paranoia is now in. Reveal behind this. FaZe still not able to get on to even try for a defuse, and now it's just a shooting gallery. Oh, and so much reveal off of ShahZaM's utility. That will be what seals it. G2 win 13-8 in map 2. And